The American
Why
Reef.
would they do it to cheer for passengers?
Then go, shh. You two, Oscar. No, I know, man.
You
Quiet.
are dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand up in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here comes the candles to light you to bed. Here comes the chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Reef Factory podcast. This is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
Andrew.
Matt.
Yeah, we're all here. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Day after Christmas. We all have some exciting stuff to talk about. Christmas presents this year. Let's see. What did I get surprised by? Oh, my wife surprised me with a new Apple Watch.
That's cool.
The other one for years. This is the one that's like it's autonomous, so it doesn't need the phone.
Huh.
Which is kind of cool because separated from my phone, I could still make phone calls and use the maps to find my way home. It's just bigger, better, faster than the one I've had. The other one I've had for like 4.5 years, so I didn't realize how far they'd come till I got this. So that was exciting. I wasn't expecting that because I told her just surprise me this year. I didn't have anything in mind. So, and then of course I got some Maker's Mark 101 tool. That's always a necessity around the holidays. Yeah, I got an official monogrammed cup. This is American Reef Factory on it. And there's some other stuff, but that was the big. Mom and Dad sent me a cool clock. Those old-fashioned mantle clocks that you like open the top of the box and the clock comes open. Which that's fun. Those are cool. And my son got his Xbox.
Oh, the Series X.
That. Yeah, the new one. So he was happy with that.
The S or the X?
The big square box.
Okay, the X. Okay.
With the 1 terabyte memory and all that. Yeah. So he was excited. We didn't tell him we had it until after Christmas was over. So he was in the laundry room, like, oh yeah, go take the wrapping paper out, and it was sitting on the washing machine. We told him we couldn't find it. So, but we did find one. And of course, he gets it all set up, and it loads really fast. And he's like, "Yeah, I wish there were some games for it." I was like, "Yes, so does Xbox." Apparently, for whatever reason, there aren't. So, but there will be.
I mean, there's like better versions of games currently out. But...
Yeah, he was doing the Call of Duty.
Yeah, the Cold War one.
And then the Assassin's game that he plays.
Oh, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing about the Xbox is like if he bought any like Xbox One games and they're able to convert up to the X version, like you can do that for free on most of them, except for Call of Duty. That one, they're like, give us our money.
Give it to us twice. So.
And Cyberpunk will actually work on that console. So.
Yeah.
I'd say goodbye to most of your hard drive installing Call of Duty on your console. But I mean, what's there? Because I know the Call of Duty, not Black Ops, but the last one on Modern Warfare, like that's up to like 400 or 500 gigabytes right now with all the updates.
Yeah, but most of that's for the online stuff.
Yeah,
because like the main game doesn't need those updates. It's all the online shit, which I don't know why. Sometimes I can understand, like, hey, it deletes some of it, and then you gotta re-download the whole thing. But it's like, here's 45 gigs. Oh, we need another 45 gigs. Like, what the fuck are you doing with all this memory?
all the maps and all the guns.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just all assets, but like, and they keep adding assets, which I can understand. But it's like, is it 45 gigs worth of assets? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I kind of question that too, because it like pretty much ruins your day if you want to play Call of Duty. It's like, oh yeah, I can't anymore. But Xbox didn't charge me for my gold account this year because they couldn't. So haha.
let's see what else. Oh, I got HBO Max. I got that till July. They were having a pay us up front, and you can have it for $10 a month or something. So I got that, and I have Spotify Premium now, which is actually not that expensive, and I can download and control everything and have no advertisements. So that's nice. I've canceled some of my Patreon stuff now because now I can get it through Spotify, so it saved me money. And then what else was there? Was that about it, really? That's a lot of stuff. For me, that's a lot of stuff. Someone who buys things throughout the year, it's like, oh, okay, this is just an all-at-once thing. And then I have this week off to work on my model, and then go back to work next Monday.
So what model are you working on?
Well, I've got the German submarine, the World War II submarine, and then I have the TACOM Russian naval gun, the AK-104 or whatever. It's the one that shoots like huge artillery shells, but it's double-barreled. And it shoots very quickly. And it's one of the only naval artillery guns in the world that sucks seawater into it, because it has a cooling jacket around the barrels. You can fire these 150 millimeter shells like rapidly, completely automatically loaded. There's nothing. They've been developing it since the 70s. It's been around forever, but it's actually just cool. It looks like something from a spaceship. So that's the main reason I bought it. It's just a big ball turret with two guns sticking out of it. But you can only mount them on. Well, the Russians have a weird thing about destroyers. What they call destroyers is called battle cruisers, because they build giant destroyers, and we don't have giant destroyers. So the reason they have giant destroyers is to accommodate guns they were developing since the 70s. I think this thing weighs 50 tons. Is its complete unit with all its ammunition. It's like, yeah, where are you going to put that? Well, we have a ship.
Good question.
Giant destroyer that we built and let rusted for 10 years, but now we're going to fire it up. We've got a gun for it. It's more of that weird overthought Russian stuff. But yeah, that's it. Nothing new and exciting, really.
Hey, I got a Russian space, or not a Russian space pin, but the space pin.
Oh, okay. The one that works upside down and underwater and all that. Yeah, those are cool.
And then I get to like retract the story, because always the fun thing about this is people say it's like, when NASA was presented with a problem, they spent millions of dollars developing a pen that could write upside down in space, and what did the Russians do? They used a pencil, but that whole story isn't true. So so like the company made this by themselves. NASA didn't contract them. They just developed it on their own and then sold it to NASA. The other thing is, Russians don't use pencils in space because the graphite would get lost off in space and go into the electronics and cause a fire. So the Russians use a grease pen, I think. Or eventually they just use this. So that whole story is bullshit and perpetrated by Aaron Sorkin, and because it sounds fun. It sounds like, well, it's like what's getting at is like Americans overthink and overspend things, and the Russians just did the dumbest, easiest thing possible. That's like what that story is getting at. But even that's not true. But
I was going to say, it's actually sometimes the opposite, where the Russians will come up with very exotic solutions, and we'll just be like, well, let's simply do it this way. Like the Russians built, everything out of titanium because they have it. And they're like, what are you doing? Because they have double-hulled submarines built out of solid titanium. It's like they can dive deeper than your steel submarines. It's like, well, can they outrun a torpedo? And actually in the 70s they could, because they developed a lead-cooled reactor for a submarine that could actually outrun a torpedo, but the reactor could never shut down because it was cooled by molten lead. So again, these are the kind of Russians, it's like you did it for no fucking reason, but you did it.
And I got this thing here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's like a steampunk
those. Yeah, that's cool.
Blanket thing.
Looks like something from the what are those called? The Ex Machina models or whatever. It's really expensive $500 resin models that I always look at, and it's not good enough for that.
The Machining Krieger.
No,
It's different.
this is just this Adam, the guy from Tested has done them. The Cosmonaut and the other ones.
Okay.
Super highly detailed. I think, what are they called? Is it called Ex Machina or something like that? I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah, they're really cool, like $500 resin models that look amazing. They're totally like, if you're gonna build something like that, you better be entering a contest and you better be damn good. Cool thing about resin, you can use just straight lacquer on it. It's like, won't affect it. So what else did you get, Conlon?
Just clothes and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And the monogram mug from you. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I got some clothes, too. Grayson bought me stuff this year himself. Basically a bunch of Carhartt stuff. Fine.
How are the game expansions I got here? Were they all pretty cool?
Yeah, they seem pretty cool. There's one that was like really heavy because it was like it had 2 decks of cards in it. And then a couple of them have like their own like kind of feature set where there's like little, I think it's power. No, it's Power Stones, and then that's it's a whole part of it. I have the Guardians of the Galaxy one, and that's all about the what are those stones? Are those also Power Stones?
Infinity Stones.
Yeah, the Infinity Stones. It's they're some of the shard or whatever. Has to do with some power energy source. One of them has shards. One of them has the Guardians of the Galaxy has the Infinity Stones stuff that adds to it. I'm trying to think of. Yeah, I can't remember the features it adds to it. Fuck. Yeah,
no, because I knew one was the same size, a lot heavier and more expensive than the other two.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's like I didn't look. They said more or less had a card art on the back, so I didn't know what it's really expanding a lot of the game.
I mean, every expansion like has like a rule it adds to the game. I forget the rules that this adds. It's like something where you can just like sacrifice people to like get better powers and stuff like that, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, I think I almost have them all. I think the only one I'm missing is maybe some smaller ones, but the big one I'm missing is there's 2 volumes of Secret Wars. There's Secret Wars Volume 1 and Secret Wars Volume 2. I have Volume 2, but like Volume 1 is currently out of print. I think I can get it right because Upper Deck makes these, and I think I can get it right from Upper Deck, but they're not on Amazon. But I'm pretty sure I can get it straight from Upper Deck. Maybe. I don't know.
Matt, what'd you get for Christmas?
What did I didn't really. Well, I don't really get Christmas presents, but I was gonna say these AirPods that I'm using right now to hear what you're saying was something I got like 3 weeks ago. I think it was 2-3 weeks ago. A new toothbrush, like electronic toothbrush, or what do you call those? Whatever they're called.
Sonicare.
The toothbrush. Yeah, I don't know what the exact name is. Let's see. That's about it. I was going to say, Conlon, you were nice enough to give me a gift card. Thank you. That was very nice of you. Merry Christmas. Thank you.
I probably should have got it to you sooner, so you probably use it to send something for your kids. But it was the easiest gift to transmit across the internet. So.
Oh no, I appreciate it. It was very nice of you. No, it made me laugh because usually like in my Amazon cart it has like 200 something things in it. I just add stuff to it, but I never buy anything. So I'm just like, oh, that's funny. I can actually buy something. That's good.
You should probably add things to a wish list and not your shopping cart.
Well, in case I ever decide just to spend all the money I have and say whatever, see what happens. But yeah, there's a lot of books in there and just random things. So. But yeah, no, at my house, a lot of it's, just because the kids are younger, it's all about getting them stuff. So, Henry got, like, a Baby Yoda scooter and got a bunch of, like, Star Wars-related things. And The girls got a lot of stuff, so that's interesting, and it's fine with me. I don't need anything really, so yeah.
So what did Henry think of Baby Yoda's new name, Grogu?
Oh, he doesn't call him that.
Does
Yeah,
any
I
of
was
them?
gonna say, one of the things is a Baby Yoda bop it.
At the start.
Yeah, so there you go. That's right. The same. That's a Pedro Pascal or Max Lord or whoever the hell Mandalorian, whatever you want to call him.
Let's give it a rest.
Let's give it a rest. All right, great. But yeah,
No, because I finally watched the rest of that show last week, and God, that was amazing. So it was I'm really looking forward to the Ahsoka Tano show when that comes out, and then the other stuff that spins off from it. So
Oh, is that another spinoff?
yeah, Ahsoka Tano's getting her own show, and then there's gonna be a Rebels Commando thing. Supposedly all in the same timeline, along with the other shows that are not in the same timeline.
And,
Well,
and
Boba Fett's show too.
the
I
Boba
guess.
Fett one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for a moment there, I thought they were just transitioning the Mandalorian into the Boba Fett show, but no, they're gonna have both. They're gonna be their own show.
yeah.
okay.
Well, because
Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say because it's Disney and they own the rights to that now, like they're just gonna make a shit ton of stuff and as long as people keep watching it. So, like it's the same executive producers and everything. So like the Mandalorian won't be back for a little bit longer because
Yeah.
they got to concentrate on all these other
Well-
spin-offs and things. So
Yeah, well, Robert Rodriguez is going to be helming the Boba Fett show, but like still John Favreau and the other guy, I can't remember his name.
Dave Filoni.
Yeah, Dave
Yeah.
Filoni will be.
The question is, what show is going to get the Kathleen Kennedy death kiss? Show.
Stay tuned. And
Henry, come here, buddy.
But
I like the end of that.
Hey, dude.
I like
What's
that
up?
show.
Say hi.
Hi.
Say hi.
hello.
Can you say Merry Christmas? No? There you go. It's a little quiet, but it's all right. All right, man. Hey, you want your baby Yoda back? No? Okay. You're hungry? Well, good news for you. Your supper's still sitting right here, so there you go. All right. Then. Yep.
But I think my favorite episode was the actual like where they go to the planet for Baby Yoda to sit on the stone, and that's when you had Boba Fett be all badass.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Mm.
The flyby of the Slave One was amazing. It's like, oh, you never really see that ship in that many dimensions.
Yeah. Well, I like when it first shows up. There's no introduction. You just kind of hear something, and then like
Yeah.
you see it for a bit, and they have that weird didgeridoo, that affected didgeridoo thing. That's like his weird like sound that follows him.
Yeah.
Or it's his theme, and then it goes behind the pillar, and so it disappears for a second, and then you see it again, and then they cut away from it, and then like you're like, and then he doesn't know what it is. I mean, it's a full like fan service episode because it's like kind of like recontextualizing Boba Fett as a badass, even though like really what you've seen him in Star Wars is kind of just a bumbling fool.
Yeah. Yeah. It was weird though. Did you see the last day? The last episode of The Mandalorian came out, the guy that played him in the movie, right? Like the original Boba Fett.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, that was kind of weird. What do we listen to? Just some kind of kids show?
It's very loud. I'm sorry. Hold on. Henry, you gotta turn that down, buddy. You don't want to? Oh, great. Okay.
Well, the vote of the
Oh,
group
man.
is you, Henry.
Yeah, but everyone else says you have to, so I don't know. But it's too loud. Can we get... Here, hold on. Let me move so you don't have to hear that. All right. Good time.
Oh, what I got for oh, sorry.
Well, I also like about I don't know if you, but I don't know. What I also like about that episode is it's also like, it's like whatever, like George Lucas wrote up for him, or it's been in like one of those Star Wars encyclopedias. It's like everything that's in Boba Fett's arsenal was like used.
Yeah. Every weapon.
Yeah, so it's like, oh yeah, this is total fan service, but it worked. It wasn't annoying.
No.
It wasn't like It wasn't like the Solo movie where it's like a bunch of fan service, but it just came off as annoying. Like here it worked. So
Yeah, it seemed to be like, oh, this situation. Like we were introduced to the concept of Boba Fett, like in episode 3, when you see, that what's that guy's name? Tomorrow, the actor.
oh, the actual yeah,
Timothy Oliphant.
No, the guy who plays
the New Zealand guy
yeah, the
that
guy
plays
Oh,
Boba Fett.
yeah. Taika Waititi.
not him, the other guy.
Which New
I think he's
Zealand
New
guy are we
Zealand.
talking
I
about?
think he's New Zealand. The guy who plays Jango Fett in the prequels.
Oh, okay.
So he's playing the Boba Fett role here.
Tim Allen. I got nothing. I haven't seen the prequels.
It's Andy Dick. I don't know what you're.
Can figure it out.
No, should I say what I bought myself for Christmas? Since Common was nice enough to give me a gift card as well, and I thanked Nathan for his Christmas cheer earlier, and
Yes.
hey, Matt for his Christmas cheer as well. But mostly what I got for Christmas was my wife bought me a nice baseball cap that I wanted, and then I bought myself Aliens Colonial Marines, another day in the Corps, and then Get Away From Your Bitch expansion and the Hero expansion and the Facehugger Renegade expansion. $150 worth of shit for myself.
I like that
There
they
you
call
go.
an expansion "Get Away From Her, You Bitch."
Well, I mean, technically in the manual it's not bleeped out, but on the box it's like bitch B star
Okay.
H, and it's like, yeah, I wonder what that means. But yeah, that was funny. And I got to put the loader and the queen together the other day. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a game, but but also comes with figures that you get to paint, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I want to, yeah, at some point I will. But right now, so I watched Aliens the other day just to kind of like get an idea what I was looking at for paint scheme wise. And I was like, oh, I thought like all their armor was like one color. It's like, oh no, it's a camo pattern. So it's like, well, that's gonna delay things for a while.
Yeah, it's basically like if you took Vietnam and futurized it. That's kind of like what it's based on. It's all based on. Because remember, James Cameron's brother was a Marine, and he serves as like as a technical advisor on a lot of his films.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't know that either.
Yeah.
that's how I learned that. You know that part in Terminator 2 where he has the grenade launcher and he just shoots out the door and blows it up. So they shot that scene, and his brother goes like, "No, that grenade needs 20 feet. It needs to spin 3 times to actually arm and blow up. Like that isn't." And he's like, "Oh, fuck it." So he talks about it in the commentary, but he just said, "Nah, I don't care."
It's Tamaro Morrison is the guy's name who plays Jango Fett.
Oh, okay.
Plays Boba Fett. And he's 60 years old. Didn't know he was that old.
Yeah, it's had his birthday the other day, supposedly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, that series is like pretty old because like Ming Na, I think she's like 57. So
In the original voice of Mulan, so there
Yeah.
you go.
And supposedly I learned from the other day from Mulan, the animated movie, why she touches her hair so much is because she touched her hair when she was doing all the voice work all the time. So they add that in. So that was kind of interesting. As well as I also learned the fact about Mrs. Doubtfire the other day because apparently they wanted to go with a really fairy tale ending where Robin Williams and his wife got back together at the end of the movie instead of like staying divorced or whatever. And it's like everybody hated it so much, like the main script writer quit. Like half the people fucking quit the movie too, and it's like, oh, okay. It's like, and then Rob Williams finally saw it, as well as Christopher Columbus, and they said no, and then they just went back to the regular ending. So,
Had no idea.
well, Rob Williams also did like live makeup testing. He went out on the streets to see if anybody recognized him and just pretended to be an old lady. And they did the same thing with when he met the girls that played his daughters for the first time. He just pretended to be somebody else in the cast talking to him while they were reading a script.
Huh.
So he did.
and then
he
everybody
seemed
knew, and
to-
they just placated his ego.
And they're like, Robin's going to pretend to be someone else. Just let him do it.
Well, because originally they wanted Tim Allen to be Mrs. Doubtfire, and they asked him multiple times and tried to give him a part in that movie in every way possible, and he kept saying no.
I don't know which
It
came
was-
first, Miss Doubtfire or Santa Claus.
Good question.
I think Mrs. Doubtfire.
Probably. That's what I'm guessing.
Well, let's see. Santa Claus.
Is it the Santa Claus? Because of the
Yeah, I think so, because of the whole falling off the roof thing. And
because it's like
Santa Claus
Yeah.
was in 1994, and Mrs. Doubtfire, I believe, was before that.
okay.
Because Doubtfire was the year before that, 93.
Okay.
And apparently it's based on a British book where the actor dad was a really poor disguise artist, and they knew right away who the hell he was, but they changed it for the American version to be more stealth, apparently. I don't know.
They turned it into a comedy.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, just I don't know. They said they wanted to do a sequel and never got off the ground because by the time they had a director attached and a screenwriter that they liked,
Okay.
Robin Williams died. So it's like, yeah, that makes sense.
No, I don't believe that.
No, it says 2013, like they finally got a scriptwriter on board because like 2002.
Do you know how
when they
many
started doing it.
scriptwriters and directors are out there? They say that about fucking in every movie. Every movie, it's like,
Oh,
oh,
really?
this movie almost got made and never fucking does.
Oh,
But you know, it makes for a nice story. It's like, oh, they almost got it made. Like, no, they didn't. Some producers got paid, and then they spent it on cocaine and lost the plot on it, and then and then the studio heads, and then there was a change in studio heads, and they fucking axed every script that wasn't currently in development. You know, that's just how Hollywood is.
Yeah, everyone got a holding deal and didn't have to work for 3 months.
Yeah.
And you spent all the money. Like, well, I guess that's not happening. Oh well.
It's like that Superman Returns movie cost like something like $270 million, but like what they actually spent on production was way less than that because it was just like the fucking like 13 or 20 years it was in production hell. Like that just added to the budget. Like John Peters, I had to keep getting his $50 million for being a producer.
Yeah.
And like you listen to enough Kevin Smith and like how many movies like almost got made, you just know like, you know, like I can say I almost got a movie made. Like, you know, I talked to nobody, nothing was in production. I could say it. It doesn't matter. You can say that. I was kind of surprised like listening to the Oliver Stone autobiography because like I think he only mentions 2 or 3 like scripts that really never got off the ground or like but he just highlights those ones. There's probably way more than that, but
Yeah.
but also every movie that got made was just like almost never made too, so, you know.
Yeah, everything with him was a fight. I mean, it's even like with tonight's movie, like they were wanting to make that in the 70s. It was just kept getting kicked around. And, but yeah, that's a weird process. It's a process I don't understand. I just consume the entertainment, and then I like wonder like, well, why didn't this happen or why didn't that happen? And then when you find out, it's always disappointing and either ego or greed based. It's like, oh, they just couldn't get out of their own way. Okay, yeah. Another entertainment opportunity passed on.
Or a movie just like 800 people passed on it, and then it just gets made with Mark Wahlberg because he's the only actor left with a name. Well, we can put
He'll
Mark
do it.
Wahlberg in it.
Yeah, he's always up early in the morning working out. He'll read your script.
Yeah. Or he won't. He'll just say yes to it.
He'll be like, "Yeah, I'll do it."
How much? Okay, yeah, whatever.
All right, you're a 16th century London busker. It's like, does he have a Boston accent? No.
He does.
Now he does.
It's like Kevin Costner playing Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Makes
Kansas
sense.
accent. It's like that makes sense. Whatever. Why not? Yeah, there's an actor who's had a weird arc. He's made some. Kevin Costner's made some strange movies.
Yeah.
Like he got sucked. Everything he does that was science fiction was a horrible but very expensive failure. It's like you spent so much money to be in these science fiction movies, or you know, they spent so much money to build the science fiction universes around Costner, and they've always lost. Like, oh, this is like Heaven's Gate Part 2. Like, how much money can we lose on Waterworld and The Postman?
I couldn't see why those would fail.
The Postman, the problem with that is very strong novel. David Brin wrote a great novel. It probably would have been a better mini series or something, but it's like that had such strong source material. Why did they go the direction they did with it? Did they just not read the book? It's like they did, except for the basic ideas. They skipped everything in The Postman.
Did he direct The Postman, or did he offload that?
I think he had some hand in the production and screenwriting.
Yeah, well, after Dances, because he directed Dance with Wolves and wrote that too, so he's kind of like had his pick of everything after that. But I can't remember the movies he really directed after Dances with Wolves, though.
Yeah, let me look up The Postman and things I mentioned it.
But yeah, he's like in The Bodyguard and stuff like that, and in Field of Dreams and shit like that. And of course,
Yeah.
Bull Durham and shit.
He did a few westerns too.
Yeah,
Tin Cup. I think he's in Tin Cup. I
Yeah,
can't remember.
I always forget he's in Tin Cup because.
He directed The Postman.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, he sure did.
He mailed it in. Easy Jeff.
He could have made a great movie. Like
Could
that's
have.
the problem. It's like that's a good book. I mean, it's early '80s and it's kind of dated now, but you can.
Well, it's about a post-apocalypse, so you don't.
Yeah, but the evil people in that book were like, it was more sci-fi type because they had artificial intelligence in that book. They had super soldiers.
Huh.
There was a reason the world was fucked up. It was explained, not just some vague war. It's like, no, there's a reason it happened. It's because technological advancement in the United States took off so fast, the Russians were like, we have to fucking destroy them because we're never going to be able to defeat them. And it's like, there was a reason for everything that happened in The Postman. I mean, that was kind of a forgotten world, one you couldn't relate to, but they still had well, they didn't have a functional AI, but they pretended that they did, and that's the reason they had all those people together in that valley to fight. And again, you could have made a great movie, miniseries out of that book, but instead they did that. And it's like, how many cameos can we have in this of, rock stars and this dumb shit?
Yeah, who was the main bad guy? Was it like
Will Patton.
Oh, Will Patton. Oh, who?
Yeah,
Who's the singer that's a bad guy in it? Isn't it like Tom Petty?
Tom Petty's not necessarily a bad guy.
Oh,
He just
okay.
He's like an overlord of one of the cities, but he's not related to the Holnists or because see, they made the bad guys in that movie just militia people that they all are afraid of. They made them into just the dumb shit American militia people, which they were in the book kind of, but they were led by like genetic super soldiers that basically caused the war that fucked the world up, and it's a better book than a movie.
Oh, whoever owns the property, I mean, we'll get another remake of it. I mean, fuck, they remade The Stand, so again.
And I heard that's great.
Yeah, I haven't bothered to watch it because
I've heard that's wonderful. That's only
I have fond memories of the original Stand, but I've seen like clips of it like recently. It's like, oh god, like this is probably terrible, isn't it? I better not go back and watch it. I'll just leave it in my head as a good movie.
I mean, it's a good
miniseries.
It's a good nostalgia trip, and the fact that like a network TV studio made it was kind of amazing. But yeah, it has all the production values of like network TV type movies, but all the high concept of The Stand is presented badly, and the acting is not wonderful except for the one guy was one of the main characters.
Wasn't Gary Sinise in that or something?
Yeah, Gary Sinise like carried a lot of that show. Because every time he was on camera, it's like, oh, here's a real actor, and everyone else is just kind of having fun. And the guy who played the bad guy he looked the part. He kind of looked like an evil Eddie Vedder, which that's a '90s reference, but yeah, it's not great. Like when you rewatch it, it's like, oh, at the time there was nothing else like this. Now there's been many things like this, but The Stand is a 1,700-page book, and with a lot of cruelty and brutality in it too that was not explored in the mini series at all. I think it was just more of that what do you call that, the cocaine era of Stephen King.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, these little kids are going to die because their parents are dead, and we're just going to talk about them falling down wells and burning the house down. And it's like, why are we having these weird asides where people die horribly that didn't die in the plague? It's like, okay, it's Stephen King thing.
I heard an interesting rumor about Maximum Overdrive. So Stephen King directed Maximum Overdrive.
Yes.
And huh?
It's the best dumb movie you'll ever see.
And do you remember that moment where like they're following the kid around? It's just kind of like this weird personal horror story, and it's kind of separate from the rest of the movie.
Yeah, whereas the baseball team gets killed by a steamroller and shit.
Yeah. So the guy who produced Maximum Overdrive was also a producer on Blue Velvet, and the rumor is that David Lynch directed that whole sequence because Stephen King was too high to come to work.
That could be true because he really admits Because when people ask him about that movie, he's always like, "Oh, what a piece of shit." and he's like, "But to be honest with you, I was so fucked up on drugs at that time. I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never directed a movie before, and I was also on a lot of drugs. So I just asked AC/DC if they would let me do the soundtrack, or if they would do the soundtrack, because it was basically a favor, because they didn't have the budget to get AC/DC to, they're like, yeah, sure, we love you, but yeah, that was.
I think that concept's still good. It's basically just like, what if cars were zombies? And I think it's a great, frightening concept. It's just like, you could remake that. And not necessarily, I mean, you can make it just as stupid, but I think you could, like, make a technically better movie than that one was.
You could make a movie with, what I remember the most about that movie, because I watched that several times, because it was so, I watched that in the fucking theater. And I was like probably 12 or 8, I don't know, young. And so I was always fascinated by, like, why is this bad? I know this is bad on some level. When I was a little kid, I was like, why do I keep watching this? And I realized, oh, the people that talk in this are stupid. They just sound dumb. And when you listen to it as an adult, it's laughable. It's like, oh, this is the worst dialogue. Like, oh, you make love like a hero. Like, nobody talks like that. Had their head
Jeff Bezos does.
in a blender or something. Like, you don't just come off that to, like, just great sex. Or if you do, you keep it to yourself. But yeah, no, this was, Maximum Overdrive. I would not doubt that that's true. Because Stephen King admits that it's like, yeah, I was on drugs.
Well, like, some people say, like, that's, like, the best part of the movie, or the most competent part of the movie. And then, like, people are, like, saying, like, well, David Lynch was in town shooting Blue Velvet, and they had the same producer. Like, I think he came in and just did a pinch hit for Stephen King on that.
I wouldn't doubt it. Well, that movie does, like, yeah, that's some part of the movie, like, conveys the horror of that world.
Yeah.
The problem with that movie and that whole concept, though, is there's logical inconsistencies abound, to where it almost takes you out of it. It's like, well, why does the Newlyweds car not go evil? Why does the kitchen knife do this?
Yeah, like, the kitchen knife can only turn on. It's like, how does it, like, reach up and strangle a person? Like, do you need that explanation? Not necessarily, but like I can't imagine how that knife is going to kill somebody on its own, unless there's some more, like, metaphysical property to the thing that takes over stuff. Was even the little bit where, like, you have, like, the Jeep with the gun on it. It's like, oh, how's it firing the gun? I mean, I'll buy that it's moving itself, but how does it fire the gun?
Yeah. It's supposedly aliens in the tail of a comet that are doing this. So, who knows how they're doing it. Like I said, it's the best movie for dumb people ever. It's like it's the best dumb movie ever. It's like, oh, this is a farce with, like, actually decent production values, but it's like a definitely deep B movie script with no panache at all. It's just gory, violent, stupid.
Somebody gets killed by an arcade machine.
Yeah, well, the truck was cool.
Yeah, the Joker truck or whatever. Yeah, the Goblin. Or just enough to not look like the Hobgoblin to not get sued by Marvel.
Yeah, I think it was actually based on something, because it was used as advertisement, and they just recolored and restyled it a little bit, because that was actually on the front of the truck for something else.
Oh, okay.
What was the story behind that? And they put lights behind it, made its eyes glow, and repainted it. But yeah, it was actually something trademarked that they thought, well, we'll just slide this one through.
Because if you remade that now, you could do some weird shit with, like, a battleship just rolling through, exploding a town with artillery.
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on here?
You definitely do it with those Russian guns, because they're fully automatic.
And now it'd work better with the whole automatic car stuff, like self-driving cars. Like now,
it would be very topical at the moment, so it would work.
And
Elon Musk could be a villain. It'd be great.
I mean, yeah, we'll probably see something like this happen in the next 5 years. Just won't be as fun.
The Skynet will be at fault, not aliens in the tail of a comet.
Yeah.
You think the Hale-Bopp guy got the shit from that movie?
It could be. I don't know. I'm watching that on HBO now, the big long documentary that explains all the origins of
Oh,
Heaven's
okay.
Gate, where they were and where they are.
What's that one called? Is it new?
Yeah, it's called Cult of Cults.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's just weird because I didn't realize they had like a 30-year history.
Huh.
I thought it was some new agey thing that started in the 90s with Star Trek The Next Generation because they borrowed so much Star Trek terminology. Because when they're goodbye videos, they said like 42 to beam up. It's like, oh, you mean drink poison and die needlessly? Yeah, okay, yeah, beam up. But it's an interesting case study of who these people were and who they weren't. Because the weird thing, like when Jonestown happened, like that guy was charismatic. Like, I mean, he was nuts, but you could tell why, oh yeah, I'll march to the grave for this guy if I have no identity or sense of self. Like you could tell why Jonestown happened. These people are not charismatic leaders at all. And it's interesting how they still got people to go along with it.
Yeah.
I'm only like 2 episodes in, but yeah, I like weird shit like that.
Why not?
There was a lot of that stuff was around in the 70s. There was a lot of cults that started in the 70s. I didn't realize how many, but there was a lot. Kind of branched off of the hippie movement, where it became apocalyptic doomsday cults of one stripe or another. This one was just UFOs. But
Because I know there's another recent documentary. What's it called? Like Nexium, but it's like NXVM or something. And it's not the drug;
Yeah.
it's a cult. It's like a sex
Yeah,
cult
no.
or something.
yeah, these are the people. Yeah, they had people in Hollywood involved. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's The Vow.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I haven't seen.
Yeah,
that.
I've seen some of that. I haven't seen all of it. It's interesting.
Is that the one where they were branding women's genitals?
Yeah, they're like branding like by their like in their crotch area, like yeah.
How do you, who goes along with that? Yeah,
I don't know, but also who like thinks someone that calls themselves Vanguard is cool? Like, hey, Vanguard, thanks, Vanguard. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Great name, dude. You can
Yeah.
pick any name, and this is it. Okay.
Vanguard is what he goes with.
Yeah, there's just a lack of good quality cults around anymore.
I know. It's sad. In my day, there was a lot better cults.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody predicts the end of the world anymore. It's all about maximizing potential and selling useless shit.
Yeah, I want the old doomsday cults. I don't want to be in a.
Well, we still have the.
scheme.
I mean, we still got like doomsday preppers and whatever the shit that's following Trump around. Like those are the those are the modern.
Like QAnon people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about them.
Yeah,
Just
don't
like they
forget about
wanted you to.
Yeah, they want to be anonymous. Anonymous doesn't want you to know about QAnon. Also, the lizard people. Don't forget about them.
Is that part?
Speaking of that,
Yeah.
what do you guys think of the Christmas Day, whatever it was in Nashville?
Oh yeah, that was weird. The explosion with the recording saying it was going to explode. Like, well, it told the truth, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I haven't heard a lot of follow up on that, but I know it's like it happened in front of an AT&T building, and it shut down 911 service through parts of the South, and they had to close down an airport because of it, because it damaged the communications link. That made me think of that AT&T, that Long Lines building in New York. You ever seen that one?
No.
What's it called? Like 13 Pierce Place or something. Originally, it was what they called the Long Lines building. It was basically the communication trunk for New York City. And then when Edward Snowden came out, he revealed that building was built because it has no windows. It's weird. It's like a skyscraper, no windows. And they said that when they would advertise, because there's people that lease space in there, not related to the government, but they say it has more floor loading capability than any building in New York City. And it's like they were advertising that as a selling point, but it turns out it was made to withstand a nuclear blast. That's why that building is that way. And it's also because Snowden revealed, as I've read all the Snowden documents, that's called Titan Point, and it's the northeast hub for the NSA, but not for monitoring things outside the U.S. It's for monitoring things inside the U.S. Probably just got off YouTube because I said that out loud. But there's a lot of old AT&T Bell buildings in big cities that have similar. Because this one in Nashville, they call it the Batman Building. Now it's a little more conventional, like it has windows and stuff. But it's weird that like someone put a bomb in front of a building that did disrupt air traffic and 911 service for a day or so.
Yeah, because they had like a building like that in Thief, right? And that was in L.A. or something, or was that Chicago? That was in Chicago.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but the I mean the Long Lines building in New York, like when you look at it, it's like you know that there's something weird going on there. And then Snowden confirmed and actually called it by its top secret name, because essentially that's a hub for reestablishing phone communications in the event of a nuclear strike on New York, and and it was built in the 70s, so it's been around a long time. But it's weird, yeah. The advertisement for it's like you can put more equipment on the floor here than any other building. It's like that's a good idea, and then you find out, oh, it's designed to withstand like a nuclear blast, pretty much a direct hit. Like it's that tough. So I don't know. Hope we don't find out. Yeah, but anyway, that's when I heard the AT&T building, I was like, oh, I know from reading documents the government doesn't want me to read that they have another one of those in New York. It's really weird.
We'll do the last F1 update for the year.
Okay.
So we're just kind of doing a season review, because I really only started watching. I had a podcast for about like 5 years that I listened to, but I didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. And then for the last 3 years, I've been like watching highlights on YouTube, and it wasn't until last year that I actually like started watching races. And then this is like the first year where I really like watched like most of the races like in full, not just like highlight clips, and went deep on the Reddit hole and all that stuff, and you know, YouTube channels dedicated just to like F1 tech and stuff like that, and watching all the paddock passes and stuff like that. Because I think that next year I'm going to get there's an F1 app. And I think next year I'm going to get that, and because they have access to some extra special content, including the the pit lane channel, which I hear is pretty good. But I guess one of the guys from there is like getting upgraded to like the British broadcast, because I guess the British broadcast is different from the British guys on the Sky Sports one. There's like a local British one that has different commentators.
Huh.
So that's weird. But yeah, the only the new news is like everything's finalized except for Lewis Hamilton still technically hasn't signed for Mercedes yet.
Okay.
That's the only holdout. So you have so Alex Albon is out at Red Bull, and Sergio Perez is getting a drive there for next year. It's a 1-year contract.
All right.
So at least he's not out of at least one of the race-winning drivers of this year didn't get kicked out of F1 for no good reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like one of his specialties is like tire management and stuff like that, which with these cars, that's very important, because it's like you can't pass people on the track. You got to pass them when they're in the pit lane and do undercuts and overcuts and all that shit. So it's like tire management's more important. Whereas the year after that, where if they can actually race closer together, then that's probably where you want Alex Albon, because he's good at wheel-to-wheel racing. Like that's what he's specializes in. So you might put him back in the seat the next year, but we'll see what happens. Right now, he's going to be a reserve driver and a test driver, so he'll revert back to that role.
All right.
So he's not necessarily kicked out of F1. Yeah, I got 2 podiums this year, so yeah. Carlos Sainz goes to Ferrari, so it'll be Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc over at Ferrari, and I anticipate them to be competitive next year. I don't think the teams that use their engine will be, but I expect Ferrari itself to be. I think they finished 6th place in the championship this year, so I expect them to be fighting for that 3rd spot at least. Also, yeah, it ended up McLaren got the 3rd spot, so they beat out Racing Point and Renault for the 3rd spot. So they'll in the constructors championship, they'll give them a lot of money. So
okay,
so that's good for them. They're a team on the upswing. So they'll have Daniel Ricciardo next year. It'll be Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris. which that should be, and they'll have Mercedes engines next year too. So,
Well,
so they might be more competitive. I don't know. Like they could win a race. I don't know.
any new rule changes coming up for this season?
Not so they're kind of because of COVID. They're kind of like restricting the changes, so there's not going to be a whole lot different. Although there are some like minor technical changes. So if you, there's a thing on the bottom of the car called a barge board. Like if you look at the bottom, there's like these little flat pieces that kind of stick out from the body of the car. Like especially like where around the engine, where the body kind of sucks in to like an hourglass figure, but there's like these little parts on the bottom that kind of stick out, like they're kind of squares, and they have a bunch of holes and shit in it, and they're doing shit with aerodynamics with it. So those are going to get like at the back, they're going to get like cut at an angle, so they can't have like the flat piece that's sticking way out just in front of the tire. So they're going to get cut, and they can't have any of those weird holes or you know, cascading shapes in the back anymore. So
No.
so that'll change.
They changed that.
I think because the 2022 cars kind of look like that, so I'm wondering if they're kind of like giving them a chance to like sort of figure out the car, like what it does when your barge board is like that, or maybe they're just doing it to take away an advantage from Mercedes or something. I don't know. But that's usually like little pieces like they'll fuck with. It's like, well, what if we did this? And it doesn't look like it doesn't seem like there's any theory behind it because they're so different on different teams. Where they'll just be like this little hole, and then there's like this and a cascading shape of something. Is like, does that actually do anything? And like, why is it so different from team to team? It's like, are they just fucking around, or is this based on data? Because if you get into F1, it's all about the data. It's like practically baseball. It's like, why even play the game anymore? Like everything's decided for you. So that's like the weird stuff like that, where it's like, it feels like they're just fucking around because they have no idea what it will do.
Well, I just remember in F1 for years and years and years, it was always the tire dramas.
Yeah.
Like the one that we would know about in America was the Indianapolis 500 tire drama, because they restricted the kind of tires they could use, and the way the Indianapolis 500, see, they cut the track. They did that diamond grind on the track to slick the water off the track. And the tires that IndyCar used, that was no problem. But for the Formula One, it was like racing on sandpaper. We just grind the tires to nothing. So like only 3 people ran in the race because the rest of the guys just drove around the track and all pitted.
Yeah, they all retired from the race, and it was just the Ferrari guys.
Yeah.
Because like they objected to the race, and so they just all quit, and Ferrari won the race.
That was like in what, the 80s, 90s?
Yeah, I think it was like the 80s.
Yeah. Because I know that kind of killed F1 in the U.S. for a long time.
Yeah.
Because people are like, we paid for these tickets.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long it took for F1 to come back to. Well, they used to have 2 races in the U.S. Like one was in L.A. and then they had the one at like the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and that kind of disappeared. Now they do it in Austin, Texas, at the Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah,
which
it comes back.
Yeah,
but it's always for many years. I remember it was always the tire, because now I think they just have one tire supplier, right?
Yeah, they used to have multiple tire suppliers, but then that's proven to just be like a bad idea.
Yeah,
because there's always like one that doesn't work at all, and it's like, well, you're fucking half these teams.
Yeah,
being forced to use a shitty tire. If everyone's forced to use a good and/or shitty tire, then it's even.
Yeah.
Although I hear that they've been doing testing with the tires for the 2022 cars, and nobody likes them. Yeah, because I don't know how long they've been using Pirelli, but it kind of seems like Pirelli's about like one more fuck up away from another tire supplier coming into F1.
Well, like I said before on the podcast, I guess I was wrong. There's a little few. I thought there were only 4 tire manufacturers left in the world. Turns out there's like 6, but all these other people are just people that bought names.
Yeah.
Like Michelin has, I think Pirelli's under the Michelin banner.
Oh, okay.
I think so. I could be wrong.
Well, I thought Pirelli was an Italian company, but they could be owned by, because Michelin is that French or is that a German company? Okay.
I think it's a European conglomerate. I don't know what.
Well, it's a French word, so I didn't know. I actually just assumed it was a German company.
Yeah. Yeah, it's part of a conglomerate.
And then at AlphaTauri, Daniel Kvyat is out, and Yoki Tsunoda is in.
Okay.
From F2. So he's the first driver on the grid to be born in the 2000s. He came in third place in the constructors championship, so he's no slouch. He's just like super young, so they're that's Red Bull. Like, yeah, get our young drivers here. So
Is he Japanese?
yeah.
Okay. Remember the Japanese had that Formula One driver everyone loved that would crash into people and shit. His name? No one understood what he was doing. So he got fired off the team after it's like he was deliberately, like he couldn't drive the car or something. Like he just bash into people.
Huh. Well, the other Japanese, I can't remember his name. He still races, but like he was a teammate with Perez, and that's where Perez learned how to do how to drive and make the tires last as long as possible. Is he got his driving style from that guy, but I can't remember his name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few Japanese drivers in F1. And then then Haas, has Mazepin and Schumacher, so that'll probably be and there's been more stuff with Mazepin where people are like trying to get him kicked out. People are trying to cancel him, which I can, it's fine. He seems like a real asshole. So, and
he's the son of an oligarch.
Yeah, and that like I don't know the information like I got at first seemed like that was more, we groped that girl was more like not necessarily consensual, but it's like, but that also seemed like people are saying that she uploaded the video as like a goof. But now it just kind of seems to come off as more sexual assault now, how the story has turned. So, and that guy's, he's going to be the guy to hate next year. So at least he's got that wrapped up.
Formula One's going to have a hero.
Yeah, it's usually just Max Verstappen.
You guys talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back.
All right. Did anybody else watch F1 this year?
No, I didn't see it.
I can't say that I did, but I don't know if I'm able to access it. What is it on?
It's on ESPN.
Okay. I have ESPN Plus, but I don't think that includes. I don't know. Is it on that? I have no idea.
It might be. I mean,
okay.
I use the website to sign in through my TV provider, so they might have it. Like, can you watch NBA games on ESPN Plus?
Usually it's like stuff that they won't put on the actual broadcast ESPN, so it's like, so I'm like,
it's more like 30 for 30
stuff
stuff and things like that.
Yeah, that kind of stuff, or like there'll be like really low undercard MMA fights.
Okay.
Or like German professional soccer is on there, and like different things like that.
Yeah, maybe not, because F1 seems to be pretty prestigious and protected.
Yeah, that's what I was like. It'd be cool if it was, but I don't think it is, unless there's like a minor league version of it, maybe. But
no, there is, but it's called F2.
F2, yeah.
And F3.
They probably have like
F3.
They probably have F5 on it. So.
There's actually an F4. The FIA is the organization that runs F1, and they have a massive amount of sports series that actually like runs under them that I had no idea. Because I was watching
I didn't know that.
I was watching some award show, and it was talking about like F4. I was like, Jesus Christ, there's an F4, and it's just like,
like what?
It's just all like these like rally series across all the different places. Because if you go to the Formula One website, they have their additional websites for F2 and F3, but like all these other FIA series, like I have never seen before. Like I didn't know they existed at all. But yeah, I might actually watch F2 next year. That might be the thing I dive in extra to.
Try to identify the up and coming drivers, all that stuff.
Yeah, well, like it's more like the cars are essentially all the same. There's like slight differences, but it's not as different as it is in F1, where like each manufacturer is expected to build their own car within a specification, but like there's clearly people are better than the other, and kind of like success breeds success in F1, where F2 it's more about like having an even playing field and try to judge the driver for their skills, because you have So they have. So what's interesting about F1 is they have like a main race and they have a sprint race. So in the main race, so you have qualifying, and you qualify for the main race, and then like whatever the top 8 positions that finish, they reverse the top 8 positions for the sprint race. And then basically, like the guy who came in first in that race has to start in 8th position, and they basically see like, can he win the race from the middle of the pack, or is he just or is he only good when he's out in front and he doesn't have to chase anybody? So it's kind of a measure of skill in that way. Or that's actually what I like about W Series. So W Series is a women's racing league, and they use F3 cars, and so they're all the same car, and what they do is like they never drive the same car. Like it's kind of a lottery. Like everybody gets a different car every week. So they never drive the same car. It's like, I mean, even though it's technically all the same car, but they're never driving. They never have their own car that's personalized to them. They're always driving a different car every week, and it's to figure out. It's like, okay, is it the car or is it the driver? So, and I was
That's an interesting idea.
yeah, because the W Series had like one of the greatest races like I've ever seen. And it didn't count, but it was a reverse grid race where you take the in the points, you take the top person and they start in last, and the last person starts in first, and that's how the race goes. And like it was like this Canadian girl who she's the worst driver in the league, but she was out front and she won the fucking race. And then you have like, I can't remember, it was this British chick. She started in 17th, so she was like the third driver. And she climbed her way all the way through the pack, and they finished wheel to wheel at the finish line. Wow. So it was and like if it had the production of F1, that would have been like an all-time race, but because it just had like a kind of like an internet production, like it didn't look that cool as it seemed. And it didn't count for any points, so. But
Yeah.
Still sounds cool though.
yeah. But I heard, like, I was thought about like going to the Austin race this year for F1 because usually they have F2 or F3 as a support race. Like you have Friday through Sunday as like a whole thing. So you have like free practice stuff for the F1 cars, but then you have F3 and F2 will do races on those days. And so like I think it's on the Saturday they're going to have a W Series race in Austin, Texas. So it's going to be a sport series for F1 this year or next year. So I was kind of interested in that. But yeah, I wanted to ask Nathan, like, what did you think of F1?
No, I enjoyed it. I mean, I always enjoy it. Like motorsports is interesting to me. I'm not a regular, like, avid, like, I'm going to collect all the data type guy.
Yeah.
But I enjoy the struggle. Men driving machines, like, just like to the edge of what anyone could do with a car, like that. And then the thing about Formula One that's interesting is there's so many rules and stipulations and things that could change. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed watching. I watched it very passively while I was working on stuff, but it was always on, and I always watched every race.
Well, I think also like during COVID, like that was like the one sport that didn't seem weird because fans don't really add anything to the sport.
No, yeah, you didn't notice that no one was in the stands because they're going 200 miles an hour. But yeah, it was interesting to see the different tracks.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, well, today we're racing in a big circle. Tomorrow we're racing in a small circle. No, these were like inverted tracks, and you really had to work the hell out of these cars.
Yeah.
Keep them on the tracks, and it's funny, like, how the brakes catch on fire. They're, not constantly cooled because they're braking so much. And they're, those are just insanely fast cars.
Were you ever to like come away from the season having like a favorite team or a favorite driver or anything like that?
Well, I mean, I of course, we like the guy that wins all the time.
Lewis Hamilton.
He seems like a nice guy. Then he's also driving the best car made by the best team that has the best money back in him. It's like, well, it's a fait accompli. He's going to win. It's not. I mean, it shows great skill on his part because he had to pull things out during different points of the year where it's like, oh, he's way behind, or he had a bad qualifying and he's near, he's not in the front row. But you know, it's kind of that weird thing with this sport where it's like, well, you know, there's people that have just better equipment.
Yeah.
Better equipment, better money, better science. There's a lot of science in this that's interesting. And it's just, but yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I always, you want to follow and see people, what people can do. And then you look at the history of it. Like I've done a lot of research on this, and it's like interesting. It's like, well, Ferrari used to dominate this sport, and then like suddenly they can't build engines, you know. They can't build when did Ferrari lose the ability to build race cars? Because all Ferrari was a race car company that happened to sell cars to civilians on the side, but their main focus was always racing, whereas Mercedes-Benz just make big fat luxury vehicles. And now they dominate F1, but it's all because of engineering.
Yeah.
And science and getting the right driver in the right car, which is cool. But however, they're always, you know, first and second on the podium a lot. And it's like, well, okay, I'd like to see the other guys. But then there's other people that use Mercedes cars that you get, you know, they get the surprise win too. Or at least the surprise podium, seldom the win. But
yeah, I mean, Williams uses Mercedes engines, but they didn't even get a point this year. So that just shows you that having the right engine doesn't necessarily make the car go.
But I've become very curious about what went wrong with Ferrari. It's like you know they've got it, but it's like they've lost it somehow.
Oh, I mean that was because they cheated.
Yeah,
I've explained. Well, I think. Well, I'll explain it to you again. But like, I'm not sure if this is exactly true because I know that I heard there's things like they were strategically leaking oil in the car to cool it or to lubricate the engine somehow, and now they banned that. But then the other thing was something like, and I don't know if this is true because I heard different things about how the sensors work. Like somebody told a story about like how it was clever, where like they say that like the sensor, the fuel sensor takes like so many hundreds of measurements within like a half a second, and it was like in those times where it wasn't taking measurements that it was just like putting more fuel through the fuel filter or whatever.
And so Ferrari was doing this?
Yes, Ferrari is doing this.
Okay, so that sounds like something Mercedes parent company was doing. They had a little problem here a few years ago with something completely different, not racing.
So there was like one race where like Leclerc got like banned from it, or it got a penalty because his car was too heavy because they put too much fuel in it, because those cars were using more fuel than everyone else because they could. So somebody thought that was suspicious, and then like Ferrari basically like came forward and like, we'll help you stop cheaters, and the cheaters are us, and you're not going to tell anybody what we did. And so they struck a deal with Ferrari, and so there's now fuel sensors in the fuel line because of that, and then they couldn't use that advantage anymore, and that's why the Ferrari engines completely sucked this year. And then every team with a Ferrari engine like suffered the same thing. There just wasn't power in it. And the other thing is like Ferrari doubled down on like, well, our engine's good, let's just work on the aero. And then their engine sucked, and now the aero doesn't work for the engine they were expecting to have. So yeah,
that was years too. It's like, well, let's come back.
But yeah, I expect Ferrari to be a bit more competitive next year, because they seem to be. At the end of the year, they're kind of getting up there. They weren't like they're getting points in races. They weren't just completely falling out of it, but also it's like only really Charles Leclerc could do anything with that car, which is amazing. It's like where he qualified fourth, and it's like, how the fuck did that happen? It's like, it's pure magic. Our car sucks.
That's just that's purely driver driven there.
Yeah. Well, it actually gave like Charles Leclerc a lot of opportunity to like drive different ways this year, because he just couldn't drive fast, so he wasn't winning races. So he did a lot of tire management with this stuff this year. So he actually like grew as a driver for having a shitty car, and he was already a great driver.
Yeah, I watched a whole documentary about like how Lewis Hamilton does it, and it had actual like videos from the race, and some of them from odd angles, like overhead, and then it had graphics put in, and it shows you like what tire management is, how you manage heat on your tires, and it's like you can see when he's moving down this track this way, because it goes from like green to yellow to red. It's like, this is really hard on your tires to do this, but and how he stays in that zone and stuff, like, yeah, all that stuff's interesting.
Yeah.
It's not like, because the closest thing we have highly regulated racing here. It's called NASCAR, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's impressive to drive a NASCAR, but it's all like, oh, now everyone's driving the same car. They just, the body shapes are a little different and stuff like that. It's like, it seems a little less technical and maybe more like, yeah, who's going to drop it into fourth gear on the curve? It's like that's blood and guts type driving more than.
I saw a couple of NASCAR races this year, and the new thing I never heard of before was side drafting.
Yeah,
like I knew about drafting, but there's like, no, you're intentionally getting as close to the car next to you as possible to give you an aero advantage. I was like, that's amazing.
Well, you got to watch it with that though, because I mean, like drafting, there's distance involved, but side drafting, you're basically operating on a pocket of air that's being pushed out of the way, which also creates a vacuum. That is a void of air, and you can easily get sucked into the side of that guy's car. So it's a lot of NASCAR is more blood and guts driving.
Yeah, it's about racing next to people.
And it's being very close and also...
but it's also about going fast constantly and driving in a circle. It's not like these road courses the F1 stuff is, where it's all about like braking and driving lines and stuff. There's not really a driving line in NASCAR.
It is huge. But it's there. But it's a different kind of vehicle too.
And then did you have like a favorite race this year, or do you like remember the races?
Well, the one I liked, there was one they did in the rain.
The Turkey Grand Prix where Lewis Hamilton was like in 6th place and he ended up winning the race by just like really well tire management.
Yeah, just cool hand Luke, stuff. Yeah, but it was so much water. It was like just flinging water everywhere. Like, how are they keeping these cars on this surface? Because it was running off, which was also more dangerous. Because
the track was newly resurfaced, and so there wasn't a lot of like grip in the track itself. And then you throw water on top of it, and there's no grip.
Yeah, that was a fun, like, skill race. And I forget how many miles per hour slower they said. They said it was an average though, of how much slower that race was. I forget what the guy, because I listened in the race, they were saying like, wet to dry. There's like a difference. It's not huge.
I want to say it was like, I want to say like something like where they would be driving 200 kilometers per hour. They're doing 150.
Yeah, it was something. I think it was even less than that. I forget. The guy said, well, it was an average. It was an aggregate over the whole race. But
it's like they could drive fast in straights, but like it was all the corners where like there was no grip.
And these guys were just drifting.
Yeah.
And it's cool to hear those engines, because those engines build RPM so quickly. It's just cool because they have to slow down, go into the curve, and then hit the throttle, and coming out of it, they're just screaming, which is amazing. Because you're talking about an engine that's building RPMs like a V twin motorcycle. It's like, this is incredible.
I think my favorite race this year was Portugal, just because it looked really cool, because how windy and up and down hills it went.
Yeah.
And then like, it ended up with the same podium it always does, where it's like Lewis Hamilton, Bottas, and Verstappen, the same one it was in almost every other race. But what was cool here is like, this is another track where it was repaved recently, so it was kind of just slick on its own. And on the first lap, it started to rain. And the Mercedes cars did not like that at all. And the fucking Carlos Sainz and his Mercedes went up front and led the race for like 6 laps. Like, this is cool. And then if you go back to it and watch replays, on that same very first lap, Kimi Räikkönen passed 9 people in the first lap. And then he was getting up to Max Verstappen, and Max Verstappen saw Kimi Räikkönen in his rearview mirror. He's like, that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, overall I enjoyed it this year. Looking forward to seeing what happens next year.
Yeah. It's going to be, it'll largely be the same, because they're doing a development holdover, because they were supposed to have the new cars next year.
Right.
But they delayed it a year because of COVID. So
yeah.
So it's largely good. It's largely probably going to be a lot of the same results, but we got some new people. Racing Point becomes Aston Martin Racing. Renault becomes Alpine Racing, which is
Yeah, I knew
stupid.
Renault had a change.
Well, that's like their speed car brand is called Alpine.
Okay.
So they thought it was more
Just a branding change more than a funding change.
yeah, because it's still like backed by the French government and stuff like that. But like when you think about like what Renault is to French, it's like they make your family cars. That's what Renault is like.
Yeah.
So Alpine's like, hey, we make race cars. So that makes more sense to them. It really means nothing to us, really.
Yeah.
Because the only thing we know about Renault cars was that French action movie.
Yeah, and then the Le Cars from the 80s, which was just a, what was that? That was like a, what was Le Car? I don't know. Well, Jay Leno had a whole segment about that, but it was like a joint venture between Chrysler and Renault
Yeah.
to like bring cars like this to America, and they'll like them. No, they won't. I mean, the Francophiles will, but people that have to, drive in a foot of snow, they're not going to be too keen on these cars. They just look cool. Really tiny engines, though.
But yeah, for the teams, like I want to like Haas because they're the only American team, but it's just hard because they're never going to win anything. Like they're built on a clever strategy, like a clever business plan, but like they're never going to win. It's just like they're doing a lot with the least amount of people and like next to the least amount of money, but they're just never going to win. But still want to root for them. But now they're going to have an asshole on their team this year, so hopefully. And his fucking dad, he's still suing Racing Point because he didn't get to buy the Racing Point team.
Oh, okay. 2 people for that?
Yeah, apparently.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know where. I don't know in what court they're suing them in. So
Who knows in Europe? They get some weird shit over there.
So who knows? He may, because like Daniel Kvyat is like really confident that he's going to be back for the 2022 season, and I heard the big rumor that Mazepin was going to buy the Haas team and make it his own, and then he was going to have 2 Russian drivers be on the team, and it was going to be an all Russian racing team.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Haas has a big presence in the U.S. too, don't they? Don't they?
Yeah, I mean they're a very successful NASCAR team.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know they own NASCAR teams.
Yeah, I mean they're champions in NASCAR, but they're just kind of nowhere. And well, I mean they punch above their weight in F1. I think there was one season they came in 4th place, which they had no reason doing, being that they're a new team, and like that's the most off the shelf Ferrari car you can legally get in F1. And they have the least amount of personnel in F1 than any other team.
Yeah.
Like they're literally the smallest team. I think they have more money than like Williams, but like Gene Haas is not happy with his team. So, and they came in, they got like 3 points this year. So all they beat was Williams. Like they're next to dead last in the constructors.
They're not ready to commit to $1 billion to.
Well, because the rules in 2022 limit how much you can spend on a team to like $250 million.
Okay.
So then that works in their favor. It's like, well, fuck it. We already know how to run a team on barely anything. So that's going to work in their favor. Where like Ferrari or Mercedes are literally spending near $500 million every year to win in F1. And like you don't win that much money in F1. Like I think you get like if you become number 1, I think you get $250 million if you're the number 1 constructor championship. Like they're doubling that in spending. So it's like F1's just kind of more of like a technical. It's like a place you can test your technical prowess, and also it's like it serves as a commercial for your team.
Yeah.
So like if Mercedes cars suck, they can be like, well, look at our race cars, and then they can just like convince people that hey, Mercedes are great. That's also a change they'll have next year is that they'll be so right now the safety car and the medical cars are all Mercedes cars, and next year it'll be like half and half. It'll be Aston Martin and Mercedes cars for the pace cars and the safety cars and medical cars and stuff.
Oh, well, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Didn't know Aston Martin made an ambulance, but. All right, so let's see TV shows. Now that I have some on-demand services,
Should we talk about the Mandalorian? Has everyone seen all of the Mandalorian?
I have.
Yep, I've seen all of it.
okay.
Let's see if we can get kicked off. See if we get a YouTube strike.
All right, here we go.
Oh, yeah, I gotta remember how to play this. Oop. Oh, I fucked it up. Oh well. Anyways, I learned how to play some of the Mandalorian.
Yep. So yeah, the second season of Mandalorian reached its penultimate episode. We've seen more of Pedro Pascal's face this year than we ever imagined possible.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But yeah, I mean, I find this season more satisfying and cohesive than the first one. I'd say I like this.
Trying to think about that.
Yeah, because it started out kind of the same. It's like, well, we got creature.
Yeah, I think the first one with the Timothy Oliphant one, like that seemed kind of like that kind of set things up. But then like the next two episodes were kind of just like there. Where he's transporting the weird fish lady and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my favorite episode. Was that episode?
Really? Oh, okay. I kind of felt like that was the episode you could have kicked out of the season. Nothing would have changed.
I don't know why, but I just enjoyed that Grogu, Baby Yoda, whatever, was just eating this lady's kids in front of her and didn't give a. And he was just like, "Screw you, lady! I don't care about the future of your species. I'm hungry." Yeah. And I really related to that. You know?
Well,
also, the giant spiders.
Yeah, those are pretty cool. Uh-oh.
Looks like we lost Matt. Uh-oh.
Lost Matt.
He can join back from the email anytime. So. Yeah. Unless his phone ran out of battery.
Well, his laptop ran out of battery yesterday during the Skype thing at Christmas, so it might have done the same thing now since he had to move.
Okay.
He can only charge it in the kitchen since Henry's making a lot of noise. Probably not going to be able to charge it. But no, my impressions of the seasons were really good. I liked every episode. I didn't think any of it was misplaced or out of place. I mean, I really liked the fish egg episode was really fucking good because Grogu eating fucking children. The episode is really funny. I mean, it's just like I think the direction of the show is, I mean, something I'm willing to see next year since Grogu probably might not be on the series as much as he used to be. But I, want to see how that plays out because it might be more of like you're claiming the throne for Mandalore and stuff like that. Maybe. So.
Yeah, that's the thing they kind of leave on, but they don't. The idea he's just trying to hand over the dark lightsaber, but like, no, you have to fight for it. It's like, I don't care.
Fine, I yield. Take it.
Yeah, because I was just joking with my wife while we were watching that. Is like, yeah, you saw it. She beat the shit out of me, and then just give yourself a black eye or something. It's an awesome battle. Oh. Like, who's gonna know?
I'm really beat up under this helmet.
There he is.
I'm back.
Okay.
I forgot with the AirPods if I touch a certain part, I disconnect myself from the. So yeah, that was on me.
I was worried you ran out of battery again, like yesterday.
No, it's not that. It's I forgot that I hit the center of the AirPod. It disconnects me.
Oh.
It was falling out of my ear, and I instead, booted myself out of this. So yeah, sorry. I had to retrieve the meeting code and get back in it. So, not sure what I missed, but carry on.
We're just talking about our favorite episodes. So. My favorite was the Boba Fett episode where he gets to really show off being Boba Fett. Because that was just a fun episode. Good. I watched it a couple of times because I really like the theme, the weird like evil didgeridoo thing that they have that as his theme. I really like that. And then I like that they show him like at first he doesn't have the armor. He's just kind of fighting with that stick and the weird rifle. It's like of the the Tusken
Sand people?
Raiders.
Yeah.
No, it's PC, Nathan. You can't call them sand people.
Okay, yeah.
No, I don't care. Aren't they also called Tusken Raiders? I can't remember.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
I always think of them as the sand people, but yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. That's what Ben Kenobi said. He said sand people go in single files to hide their numbers. So, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where they also call them Tusken Raiders. I don't know where that comes. I don't know why I know that. I just know that's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he gets the armor, but like I actually don't recommend like watching that episode too closely because like nothing physically makes sense. Because like you understand at the end of it, it's like, oh, like they didn't have a lot of time and money to shoot this, so they just kind of like tried to save it in editing. And a lot of things don't make sense because it's like, so like that first dropship it goes down right next to the Razorback, and then like Boba Fett's fighting people somewhere. The other lady, I can't remember her name, the sniper lady, she's fighting
Fennec or something like that.
Cynic, or what is it?
Fennec. I think
Cynic,
it's
okay.
Fennec.
She's fighting other people like, and she's like up on a ridge, and they set up that machine gun thing, and then she's just right along the ridge, and like she could just like jump behind the rocks, but she's running on top of them, getting shot at, which doesn't make any sense. And then she's just kind of like, and it's just kind of cutting to like her shooting people and things exploding. But it doesn't matter because it's just you get to see Boba Fett be cool without his armor, and then he gets his armor, and then he's extra cool. And then you just get to see the Slave One be all cool and mysterious, and that was really neat to see. In the next episode, you even get to see the inside where like the whole ship rotates around the central cockpit thing. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I was never understood how that's like. How does that work internally? Oh, it just rotates on a gimbal. I see.
Yeah. And that one episode with Bill Burr was interesting, where how it kind of builds a whole thing around like, like why do people end up working for the Empire, and then like how they regret it, and like how you can't necessarily blame everybody who worked for the Empire because maybe they didn't like it or had a choice.
Yeah, I like that episode a lot because it basically showed that guy is, instead of being some just sarcastic mercenary, it's like, oh no, this guy's horrified by a lot of things that happened to the point he's willing to shoot people at point blank range because they remind him of it. It's like, we'll fight this whole garrison. I've decided that. And then when the guy, when the Mandalorian takes his helmet off to use the computer, and then when all the killing's over, he's like looking away from here's your helmet. I didn't see anything. It's just that guy's an interesting character.
I think there's like a really interesting moment there because there's that point where like, they're posing as stormtroopers and they have to fight like the natives and kill them. And there's that point where like, this TIE fighters come in and like save the day, and it's just kind of weird because like this weird celebratory moment. It's like, oh wait, like we're technically on the Empire side here. This is weird.
Yeah,
because Bill Burr's character is like, you never thought you'd be glad to see stormtroopers, right?
No, that was a good episode. There's a lot of good, character moments. And they finally show that, oh yeah, he is a sniper, because at the very end he shoots into that canister from the Slave One using that really primitive, like just optically sighted thing that Boba Fett had.
Yeah.
And he shoots from a far distance and it destroys that whole facility. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. This guy was supposed to be a sniper.
Well, that's the episode and they was in the first season. They talk about his shooting, and he's like, "I wasn't a stormtrooper, you dickhead."
No, I like Boba Fett. Like the stormtrooper armor seems really shitty this season because like Boba Fett keeps like beating shit out of people with the staff. For like most of the episode, you like just like no, bam, automatically dead staff, and it's like,
I don't know,
yeah, he doesn't.
That's kind of the joke about stormtroopers is like, why do they have armor and no, it doesn't seem to be effective against anything? It's like, oh, it's so you can have multiple actors play multiple parts as stormtroopers.
Yeah, and don't they view that differently too? If it's like if it's not a person like with a face, like you can get away with higher levels of violence.
Yeah.
Because it's more cartoonish instead of some guy just screaming and being beaten to death with a club. Like that might be a little I mean, but yeah, the first episode, the Mandalorian kills that guy with a flamethrower. He screams the whole time, and then he's just looking for the next person to kill. That's one thing I like about the Mandalorian is that, like, the first season was much more violent and dark than this season. They seem to kind of tone that down a little bit. Because he was just a killer the first season. He's just like, I just kill everyone except this, infant. I'm going to be okay with him. But everyone else is kind of up for murder. But then he saves the one New Republic guy on the barge, which is why the guys chasing him in the TIE fighter just let him go. But yeah, this season seems that the level of violence, the level of action is higher, but the level of like interpersonal violence seemed to have slowed a little bit.
Yeah.
Or at least it's happening with like more like
Well, they have
robot.
more like grand scale things where like explosions and giant monsters eating people. So
Yeah. That seems to be a change in tone, unless I'm just missing something entirely.
oh, maybe they thought, I don't know, maybe there was some directive is like, this is the only show we have on this fucking thing, like make it more kid friendly. I don't know.
Well,
I
why
don't
did
know. That first scene of this season was pretty dark. Where he's like stringing the guy up to be like, and then shoots out the lights so he can be eaten by monsters.
Yeah. Oh, it still manages to be its own thing. It has its own identity when it comes to that.
Which I thought that was I thought that was pretty cool because I know in the credits it said John Leguizamo. I was like, where the fuck is John Leguizamo? It's like, oh, that guy was John Leguizamo.
Yep, right there.
Cyclops guy. Yeah.
Well, no, because I mean, I think of it more as character development. Because in the first season, yeah, he's only known as being a bounty hunter and a killer, and that's pretty much what he is until he encounters a child and he grows more as a person, maybe becomes less violent or better thinking. I guess as far as either the story is concerned or his character is concerned, he doesn't seem to just go outright to killing everyone right away.
I mean, like he doesn't even have a name. He's just called Mando.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he's supposed to be based on the Clint Eastwood character as the man with no name. That's essentially what he is. So,
yeah,
he does have a name, but I don't think of it.
well, people just call him Mando, but
Yeah, 'cause I forget what.
well,
his name
and is like when he's with his other kind, they call him something else. I think like his
Yeah.
actual name, but like nobody else knows that. So you can't know a face, can't know a name. Of course, he takes his helmet off quite a bit this season. So
His name's Din Djarin.
Huh.
That's because when people hire him, they hire Din Djarin, and then it's always a Mandalorian. Because I've heard them, the one guy, who's the guy, Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
I think he's
Oh,
called
yeah.
a few times. I liked the guy Moff Gideon. That guy was. It's always evil and weird. It's just like that guy. It's just like Gus Fring in Star Wars. Is that guy's name Giancarlo?
Giancarlo
Yeah.
Esposito.
Yep.
I like how he was tormenting his young daughters about this. Did you ever see that interview? Because he's got like young daughters, and it was like, "Don't hurt Baby Yoda," and he's like, "I'm supposed to kill him." That's what happened this week. Just tell his kids that like he's gonna die. It's gonna torment him.
Well, he's like holding the dark saber over him, like just a moment before, like the Baby Yoda's just like playing with the stormtroopers and smashing them together, which that was funny.
Yeah. There was some good scenes there with him. I think, and they're gonna keep him. I thought he was gonna get killed in that episode, but I guess they're gonna keep him around as a manipulative, evil character because they had to kill off the German guy. So.
Werner Herzog, yeah.
Yeah,
you can always bring him back, you know.
It's robot legs or something. Yeah.
And what did you think of Luke Skywalker?
That was fine. I mean, I knew what was going on as soon as the X-wing showed up. It's like, oh, okay, major character.
No, that's supposed to be like a direct like homage to the scene from Rogue One, right? Like it's supposed to draw parallels between that.
I think so.
Where Darth Vader just like enters the blockade runner and just kills the fuck out of everybody.
Yeah.
But here it's robots, so he can be really evil with them. Like it kind of seemed like a good Jedi wouldn't like crush a person to death with the Force, but it's a robot, so who cares?
Yeah. Well, remember they went out of their way to explain. It's like, Oh, the Dark Troopers, they used to have an organic compound, but that was the weak link, so they just went with pure robot. I don't know if that was ever a story or was necessary, but I think they said that to set that up.
Yeah.
Like, so this is not like a Dalek with a brain in it, and you're, crushing some living organism.
I kind of like that. It was almost like a callback because there's a part where like you see the Mandalorian fight one of them, and it's like, well, this is too much of a problem, and then he like gets them all sucked out of space, and it's like, well, I guess that's over with. It's like, wait, they're robots with rockets; they can come back. There's no problem.
Yeah. I did like the Mandalorian Dark Trooper fight. It got kind of ridiculous when he's just jackhammer punching his helmet into the wall because he can't break that metal or for whatever reason, and
Yeah.
The Beskar. Yeah.
yeah. He's got max upgrade points on his armor, so it's.
But I thought the Luke Skywalker digital recreation was good until it talked.
Yeah, that was not good. They needed to work on that. That was horrible.
Yeah, that stuff's like it's not there yet. See what they did with the Queen in England?
Oh yeah, I saw that yesterday.
She,
Yeah,
she
the
gave her
deepfake.
she gave her official. She always gives an official Christmas like speech, and then that was on BBC, and then Channel 4 did one where it looked like her. You could tell it was that Uncanny Valley deep fake stuff, but the lady doing her voice sounded enough like her that it was weird. But she wasn't acting outrageous until she started doing TikTok dances. But until then, it was like, wait a minute, what am I watching?
Yeah, it's strange.
Yeah, it's strange humor, and then that outrage, the TikTok dancing and stuff, and then in the end they showed like all the blue screen and the lines and everything, and the actual actress that was playing her. And it's like, oh, that's weird. We're still a ways off from that being 100% believable, but it gets closer every year.
I mean, some of that deepfake stuff is better than these digital doubles.
Yeah,
it's just like you can't change the voice. That's kind of a problem. But I don't know what they did here. It's probably the same thing they did with the young Princess Leia thing, where they find an actor who has like the same facial and they just put a digital jaw in, which is why it looks weird.
Now, did Mark Hamill voice this?
No. No.
Okay.
I think they just like because his voice is completely different now than when he was younger. But I think some of it's just dialogue just kind of strategically ripped from Empire Strikes, or no, from Return of the Jedi, because it's a lot of the same phrases from like when that fight in the palace or whatever, or on the Death Star.
Yeah.
Like some of that's just like dialogue strategically ripped, and then I think they just did something else, maybe hired a voice actor or just did something digitally somehow. But I thought like some of like when he's standing still, I thought it looked all right, because I thought, like the Jay from Red Letter Media, he hates all that shit. So yeah, that's fine. But I remember like I was impressed with the one in Terminator Dark Fate where it's like where a young Arnold Schwarzenegger shows up and kills John, and it wasn't just a young Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was like a young Arnold Schwarzenegger who has gotten a tan and is slightly growing a beard. And like, yeah, that's cool. I thought it wasn't just them recreating something. They recreated, then added something to it, which I thought they also did here, where they kind of like made him a bit older and like put some more stubble on him. I mean, he definitely more looked like Return of the Jedi, but like just slightly different. And maybe it was just pure accident. I don't know, but I thought that was good. But like, I know Jay would just say that was terrible. So just get an actor.
Well, and they shot it dark too. That helped.
Yeah.
Because the thing that killed him with Princess Leia in Rogue One is it was like a bright white. It's like, oh yeah, okay, this doesn't look right at all. But that was also 5 years ago, so technology's probably improved.
I mean, it made Kevin Smith cry again, so you're doing something right. So, but he'll probably Kevin Smith will cry at a drop of a leaf now. So if you remind him of his childhood.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but the end of the show, man, it managed to be cool. Sad but cool. But something. It's you're all gonna. That's the elements of the show that work. So they're all gonna be back in place eventually.
Yeah, because it makes it exciting next year. Because like I have no idea what they're gonna start with.
Yeah.
Or we'll see like what they name it, because they're all named like chapter names, like it's a continuing book. So you'll see if if they just like start a new book or if it's a continuing chapter. So we'll know right away.
Well, I think a lot of this is going to be just about the Mandalorian culture, and
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot of episodes about who they really are and who he is, because the other Mandalorians are like, oh, he's from some weird sect. Like,
Yeah.
we don't believe the same stuff that they do.
He's in the QAnon for Mandalorian.
Yeah. The helmet guys are the snake handlers of the Mandalorian religion.
Yeah, they're a little backwater.
I kind of like to see him do like something with the Republic Commandos, because you know about them.
Well, I know it's going to be a TV show.
Oh, they are doing one. Okay.
I thought they were.
Because there's a video game about it, and like they're basically special forces stormtroopers, but I think they're like separate from the clone troopers. So like when was it Order 55 or whatever gets sent out, like they didn't like kill all the Jedi, they just basically like hid away from the Empire after that or something like that. But they're interesting. They're an interesting element you could throw in there. It makes me want to go watch that Clone Wars series, because I know there's a lot of stuff they're bringing in from there that I just vaguely know. I could probably get a Wikipedia article and be good, but I might check out the Clone Wars series.
Yeah, that was my son's thing. That's what he watches the most on Disney Plus. Is the Clone Wars. Like, I remember this from when I was a kid. He talks about it like it was 30 years ago. Years ago when you were a kid.
So long ago.
Well, they made a final season like last year.
Yeah, I don't think he's seen that. But yeah, that's where they're porting. Because one of the producers on this was the showrunner on Clone Wars, wasn't he?
Yeah, what's his name?
Dave Filoni.
Yeah,
Dave Filoni.
Yeah, keep forgetting his name, even though it's a pretty memorable name.
Let's just call him Tony Pepperoni. That works.
Well, I heard also like he worked on the Avatar series for Nickelodeon, and like that show has so much high praise. I've tried to watch it, but it's still like a kid show. But I hear somebody's like, "No, you got to get through it. That's amazing," and like I just kind of never believe it. But sometime I'll watch it. So.
All right, so the Clone Wars. Has everyone seen Wonder Woman 84?
Yep, I saw it. I don't know about.
I don't think
everybody
anyone
else.
does.
No, not yet. I literally got HBO Max tonight, so I'll watch it tomorrow.
Okay, we'll save that for next week.
Watch it right now and get back to us.
I did the same deal. I did the same deal you did, Nathan. So I'm paying for 6 months. So.
Yeah.
It's
Thanks
fine.
for the heads up.
It's fine.
Yeah. It's fine. What? Like, I
Oh,
still watch the HBO.
I've seen like a little too much love for it, and I've seen way too much hate for it. I'm like, it's fine.
It's probably somewhere in the middle, but yeah.
Well, here's where I'd say the big problem. I think Kristen Wiig and Pedro Pascal are the best parts of the movie, and then the Wonder Woman stuff is the weakest. It's also way too long. So we watched Born on the 4th of July tonight, which we'd say is a very long movie, correct?
Yep. It drags.
So Wonder Woman is longer than Born on the 4th of July.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, I think it's like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
That's sad.
But you got a fast forward button, so it's fine. Actually, you don't have a fast forward button. You have a rewind 15 seconds button. They got to get on that.
Yeah, but you can scrub with.
Yeah, you can scrub, but it's not as accurate.
Yeah.
It's like I do a scrub, and it's like, oh fuck, I went 5 minutes forward. I didn't mean to do that.
All right, we can cover that next week.
Yeah,
is Possessor worth seeing?
What's that?
Is Possessor worth seeing?
I think you'll like it. It's weird. There's no.
It's gory and it's style over substance.
Yeah.
Which it sounds like right up my alley.
I mean, think of like, hey, what if you took Inception, made it way more meaner and way more cheaper?
Yeah, okay. Because I can watch that for like $1 now, so I might check that out.
Yeah, I'd say check it out. I mean, it's just fucking weird and mean and violent. So that's what that movie is. So
good.
And kind of a surprising ending where it's like incredibly heartbreaking and violent. And it's not that long. I think it's like an hour and a half or something like that. But Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. There's like there's a little bit too much praise for that, but I still think it's good. For especially, I think it's like technically his second movie, but like it's the only movie of his I've seen. So
Yeah, I haven't read anything about it or watched anything about it because I wanted to.
it was a really cool trailer. So
Yeah, it was a great trailer. All right, so then we got Born on the 4th of July, part of our Oliver Stone retrospective. It's a 1989, basically based on the autobiography of Ron Kovic.
Yep.
He's a Vietnam War activist, still alive.
Huh.
He's in his mid-70s. And this was a Oliver Stone movie.
from the autobiography, like this movie's been kicking around like his purview for like even before Platoon.
Yeah, this is this book was published in 76, but I think I remember from the Oliver Stone book he said like he was talking to this guy even before that.
Yeah.
And wanted to option this into a movie, but everyone's like, "Oh, these Vietnam movies are too depressing." Vietnam War at that time ended 4 years ago, so it's like I don't think people want this. So this was something that was I wouldn't say it was in production hell, but it was just kicked around as an idea and a script that got handed around that like everyone's like, "Oh, no, pass." And if it wasn't for Tom Cruise, this one would have been passed on too.
Yeah.
Because he brought the star power to it. I forget how many different people they wanted for this role. I think Al Pacino was one.
Wasn't it like Nicolas Cage and stuff too, and Charlie
Yeah,
Sheen?
there was a couple different people. But I think the producer and Oliver Stone got together and it's like, look, Tom Cruise is interested. And I know there was some doubt. Is like, does Tom Cruise have the acting chops to play this kind of role versus, some of the other stuff? Because like he's just coming off of like Top Gun and things when this is made.
When did
He
he
also
become, when did he be coming off of Rain Man?
Yeah, Rain Man was the last movie before this.
Rain Man, the one he did. Okay.
Yeah.
Was
Which
that-
I think he got like an Oscar nod for that, but that was
Yeah.
Well, he had,
best
like-
supporting.
Well, he had like Color Money, Cocktails, Top Gun.
Well, I wouldn't say Cocktail is a good.
No, I'm
preview
just
of
saying
his-
all the movies he did before this.
Yeah,
Like
I think
Risky
Color
Business,
Money would
like-
say like, yeah, he can do drama, but I mean, this is
Yeah.
this is a way more like demanding role than he had done at the time.
Yeah, it has a lot more depth and growth to it than anything else he's done really before that. I mean, I would say, yeah, Rain Man was definitely his acting chop movie before this, where you could actually like tell he was a really good actor instead of just like, oh, he looks, like an eye candy and you can get people in the movie. So,
then
I
after
mean, yeah.
he did Days of Thunder.
So, I mean, I didn't know because I looked at his filmography when you guys were mentioning, like, hey, like this, like, Top Gun, or not Top Gun, God, they're filming Mission Impossible 7 and 8 right now. I thought they were only doing one. So I didn't know they were filming both of those right now.
Is that the one where he had the meltdown? Which one was that?
Yeah, I think it was 8 while he's having a meltdown. Because it looks like maybe 7's maybe mostly in the can now. But yeah, because they've been filming it.
Well, mine's not meltdown. It's not really a meltdown. It's like he's angry and right. He's just happens to be a
but
millionaire and he's yelling
Tom
at.
Cruise is a fucking asshole. I hate
Yeah,
him.
yeah, of course. But
Yeah,
he's
he
also
should die. Fuck him. That's how I feel. That guy can fuck off. He's an evil cult member. Speaking of cults, too. Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, Tom Cruise is not very likable, yes, but at the same time, he's still got a lot of star power.
That just kind of reminded me of the Christian Bale like meltdown, and then like that's kind of been worked back to like, no, that guy who's yelling at was actually an asshole and like holding up production, but like me and Nathan were talking about, you can't be a millionaire and yell at normal people and have it
Doesn't
on
work.
camera or
Yeah, there's
have
a
it on
power
audio.
imbalance. You can't do that. Like, I wouldn't listen to anybody do it, and I'd be like, "Screw you, dude." Like, I don't give a shit what you say.
Yeah. But back to the movie. I hadn't seen
talk
this movie
more
for quite
about
some time. It's Oliver Stone's still not my favorite director or anything, so there was a lot of parts of this movie where I thought it was really well shot and had extra meaning to it, and definitely was a well put together movie. I thought maybe it was a little bit long from what I remember it being, but it still worked. I wouldn't.
But
say
it's
there's
covering someone's life, so you understand.
Well, yeah, no, you can't really cut that. But at the same time, it's like, hey, Like there's quite a few people I recognized in it and had more star power than just Tom Cruise. Not that everybody was in it for just as long as he was, but I mean, I didn't even remember like his mom talks about like, oh yeah, I have a dream you're going to make this big speech, and it kind of goes over that at the end, and then I was like, I'm waiting for the speech, and it cuts, and I'm like, what the fuck? That's not the movie. I'm like, what the hell? It's not cool, man. Not cool. And that was probably the part I was disappointed in.
I've never seen this movie like straightforward. I've always seen bits and pieces of it. Like I thought this was an early '90s movie. I didn't know it was an '80s movie, just because it's like, I remember when they put it on USA and they made a big deal out of it. It's like Born on the 4th of July on USA Network and stuff like that. And you know, just like I said, I've always seen bits and pieces of it. So I get to like the full gamut and see like where Oliver Stone's like fucking around with like different kinds of film grain and film negatives and different processes and stuff, and you can see like, you know, where this is going to go forward from here. So that stuff is pretty interesting. This won the award for best editing and an Oscar for that. It also won best director,
Yeah.
not best picture and not best written, but best director and best editing.
Because there's a few parts of the movie that drew a lot of retrospectives to how today is. Like when he comes back home and, you know, he's in his wheelchair and he's having his first dinner with his family and stuff, and like he's yelling at his brother because like, oh, those people can get out of America and those people can die and shit. And I was like, that sounds like a really Trump speech right there. Like even his reaction at the end where it's like, Bob, did you see what he said to me? And it was like, yeah, that seems very one-sided and very shitty. It seems like a conversation I could have with a Trumper today. And just the same thing with like police violence and protests and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, these things don't go away. They keep echoing through history, and nobody seems to recognize they ever, you know, a lot of people seem to think they go away and never come back. And it's like, it seems very much like today, just with better police tech. You don't have to go in there and beat him with batons. You can put sound waves at him, make him bleed through the ears. That's good. So it's a very poignant movie. Still, it holds up. It doesn't feel dated at all. I know it's from 1989. But
well, I
still,
mean, but it's about the 70s, and so they probably had shit laying around, so they can make it look error accurate, so easier.
Yeah.
Like if they made the movie today, it probably would look not as accurate.
Kind of like Wonder Woman 1984, huh?
Yeah, that movie. Oh, we'll get into that some.
just a teaser for next week.
Well, it's like I feel like that movie. It's if you call it Wonder Woman 1984, and like there's like a few moments you're like, oh yeah, it's the 80s, and the rest of the movie you just never think about it, other than like the fashion. It's like it seems like a wasted opportunity. Anyways.
Yeah, the whole scene where she's trying to dress him. I'm like, what's the point of this?
Yeah.
To show that's the 80s. That's what the point. I mean, it's longer than 4th of July. You have to pad that time somehow. And it was better than a Barbie doll sequence with Ken Rogers. Or Ken whatever. I can't fucking remember his name.
Steve?
Oh, Steve Rogers. Okay, sorry. Wrong person. Anyway.
It's not Steve. Isn't that Captain America? Wait, what's Captain America?
Yeah,
name?
that's Captain America.
Actor in this, in Wonder Woman.
Yeah, well, his character's name's Steve, right? Steve. I don't know his last name.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It's like Steve Summers or something like that.
Reeves or something, or Summers. I don't know.
Anyways,
Chris Pine.
Yeah, this movie is another. This is one of those movies. We're getting into that Oliver Stone era where the thing I like most about Oliver Stone is he explains the '60s to me, because I like his version of the '60s. I don't know if it's inaccurate, but I enjoy it. He lived through that time, and these specific events are, they kind of, he has actual, lived through actual stuff like this. He wasn't paralyzed, but he understands where all these guys are coming from.
Yeah,
this was a good, like, cathartic Vietnam War movie. It takes place over 20 years, but this is a good, like, oh, this is why people volunteered to fight in that war, and this is what happened to them. If they didn't get killed, but they got injured. And they came home, and everyone's like, baby killers, and we're going to put you in a hospital that looks like it's in Calcutta, India, and we're not going to change your bedpan, and this is how you live now. And yeah, it's all that stuff is, again, still around to this day, unfortunately. But this movie, a lot of Oliver Stone's work is like helps me understand this stuff, or it's like this is what I get out of it. And then this was another one of those movies about the interesting things of like people, Vietnam veterans that went and threw their medals away in protest. The guys like John Kerry and people like that did similar things to that. Versus some of the other people in Hollywood and in politics and in the real world. It's like these are the struggles they had.
It was like a journey of I'm not sure if this is the correct word, of disillusionment.
Oh yeah. This
Where
is
it's
the guy-
like he starts out like he wants to be a hero and he wants to be a patriot, and then he learns that that's all an illusion and a bunch of bullshit. And it takes him forever to learn that out. And then he gets like under the delusion of like when he's in Mexico, it's like, oh, this lady really loves me, and then like, no, it's like it's just a lot of sad, cringy things that happen to him, and eventually, he finds his place. He's like, no, I'm worth something, but it's like it's not like what I imagine it to be, but like I'm worth something, and I can make stuff happen, even though I'm paralyzed and feel worthless, and I find my place in the world.
Well, the interesting thing I thought in this movie is this is a guy who obviously was affected by the war. He's paralyzed, but then he would talk to the other guy. Remember, they were talking out back, drinking beer.
Yeah, Frank
Yep.
Whaley.
Yeah, the other guy who was in the Vietnam War. And it's like, oh, his injuries are all on the inside. Like, this guy's fucked up too. He just doesn't have to deal with.
Actually, if you
He has
look
a
at-
scar on his
he
head.
has a
yeah.
scar on his head.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. There
But I
was
mean,
some-
it's like a surgical scar, but like something happened to his head.
but he can walk and talk.
Yeah.
Not yet. But he's all fucked up too, and they both come to that realization, like, oh, okay, this is that was a poignant scene in this movie where those two guys are talking.
Or this is the other one who's like arguing with what's his name?
Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe. He's like, "Did you kill babies?" Like, yeah, I killed babies. What do I gotta say? And stuff like that. That whole
Yeah.
argument's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff I get from the people that grew up in the Vietnam era that didn't get drafted involuntarily or chose to go, except for Oliver Stone's one of the few people who he understood kind of not, he knew he wasn't refighting World War II when he went over there reading his autobiography. But a lot of people that were joined the military to fight in Vietnam thought they were refighting World War II, only this time against communists in some strange country, but it's going to spread all over the place. And they go over there and they see what's going on, and they're completely
because
their whole worldview just disintegrates. It's like, what is this? What are we doing?
because Oliver Stone is in Vietnam in the early 70s. When this takes place is the very 61.
Yeah,
So this is the very start of Vietnam that he joins. He said, when they have the Vietnam sequences, he still has an M14 and stuff like that.
Right.
They don't even have M16s yet, and I like the first day he comes up to that guy. He's like, "Where are you from?" He's like, "Georgia." He's like, I haven't seen anybody from Georgia ever get hit. And it's like, that's a great lie, because as far as you know, that could be true for him. He might never have seen a guy from Georgia get hit, but it's a great lie. And immediately, in fact, it immediately impacts his morale. He's like, "Oh, I'm from Georgia. I'm invincible."
yeah,
And then that's the guy he shoots.
yeah. Not only is this guy paralyzed, but his combat experiences are grief-inducing in more than one way. Which is that's
it's you don't see you see war movies about war heroes, and this one's a lot of the major point of it is oh, I shot my own guy and I try to turn myself in and nobody wanted to hear it.
yeah, nobody cared. It's that happens. Just we're not dealing with it. We don't want to do the paperwork on that. Get back out there. But yeah, that's this was a good movie. It's better than I remembered. I've seen it a few times. Beings were doing an Oliver Stone retrospective after coming off his biography and knowing some of the stuff that happened in the trying to produce these types of movies. This one this turned out to be. I remember this. I see it and I think, oh, this is better than what I remember.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like was some critical backlash to this movie. I feel like people's the critical high had come down on this movie to where it's lessened nowadays. Like I'm not sure why. Like it's perfectly fine. Like it's long, it's fine. I think people like saw it as like not a success because Tom Cruise didn't win the Oscar or something, and like it only grossed like 170 million. Like I can't remember like what people like. It wasn't.
Well,
It seemed like it wasn't a success in some ways, but
This movie had a weird role because it came out in December, right as we were invading Panama. That's when the weekend this movie came out. Because this is when they were going after Noriega.
yeah.
And so it was basically on kind of life support. Like people were seeing it, but maybe the mood of the country wasn't in line with the themes of this movie at that particular moment. But as it turned out later, it became a success, but it wasn't the, I think a lot of people were expecting like a $250 million home run with the cast they had. But when you look at the story, it's like, you're not packing the theaters with this. A little dark for some people, and it's a different, like you said, it's a different war story. It's kind of a war story from a different perspective about like, well, it's not all fun and then drinking beer with your dad and crying about what you did. It's like this guy's fucked for life. Got a lot to overcome.
And I think like and this like pretty much they took this whole cloth for the Lieutenant Dan character in Forrest Gump. Just came from this movie pretty much.
Yeah, I think there was probably some cross pollination there.
Well, I just laughed because there's a scene that remember he's in a bar and it's like his hometown or whatever, and he's getting drunk and playing pool. And he's like talking to this girl named Jenny, and I'm like, he let his Jenny get away. So it's like because it's Forrest Gump or whatever. So I was like, damn it. Sorry, I was drawing Kurt.
He let a statutory rape without a dick get away.
No, because there's a lot of parallels, like you talk about, Lieutenant Dan's character, parallel between that movie and this one was probably based on it. And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of parallels too, where it's like, oh, he's asked to speak at a rally when he's in uniform and shit like that, and all this other stuff. So it's like, I don't know how much Forrest Gump drew from this and when those.
Well,
books
for
were
that
written.
character, pretty much this whole movie is like that character, that entire character's arc, except for he gets legs at the end of the movie. Because like, he loses legs in Vietnam, he becomes like an anti-war hippie vet thing. And then they get a boat together, and then that's all weird and funny, and so it's taking Born on the 4th of July and adding humor to it, which is nearly impossible.
Except for beating up hookers, that's good humor.
Yeah, I think the thing I took away from this for like in a modern sense is I like how it's, I don't know if this is an American ethos, but it's like to blame yourself for everything. Like he tries his hardest and everything, and he still fails, and he can't be content with it. He's like, it's my fault. God is punishing me. I tried my hardest, and it's still not enough. And that's kind of like all of America right now. But
Or the people in America that are paying attention.
yeah,
Some people in America, this is like the best party that they've ever been to, and they just want it to keep going, regardless of how people voted or reality or any other inconvenient thing. But yeah, this is.
it feels like America is just like, rather than asking for their government to help them, they'll just blame themselves.
Yeah.
And refuse help.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Refuse help and blame the people trying to help them.
Yeah, that's called rugged individualism. I think that's the term. But yeah, that's where we're at. That's just, again, like Andrew said, all this is kind of a circle. There's a lot of parallels with.
Well, I mean, it's an Oliver Stone film, so like in every one of his movies, like these points are hit like every time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's like drug culture, war stuff, all that stuff. He hits that over and over again. That's why it's still relevant, because that shit has not stopped being relevant.
Right.
But at the time when these things came out, it was like, you got a major studio to put this agenda out there.
They didn't know what they were doing, or they just saw dollar signs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I looked at the budget, and it's only $14 million for the budget. So I mean, at least 10 times what it would cost me. I don't know what the advertising budget was back then, I guess, but
Yeah,
yeah,
probably
not
was.
amazing.
All in this movie.
Well, I mean, it seemed like an
Movie
Oscar
cost
grab
20
movie. So, and I also had a slow rollout where it was like in major cities for like 2 weeks, and then had but also like movies back then, they had slow rollouts where like they made money over an entire year. They didn't just like have the big up front and then it's out of the theaters in a month. Like they hung around for a while.
Yeah, there were a lot more theaters back then too.
Although this is like the same year that like Batman came out, so
I've heard this said that this was Oliver Stone's most Oscar baity movie.
yeah.
But again, it was something it was something that the studio was not. It wasn't for Tom Cruise and a lot of backdoor deals. And again, the movie ended up costing $20 million with a bunch of reshoots that the studio demanded because they changed the ending a little bit. But they
Oh yeah, John C. McGinley showing up at the end.
yes, always got to be there. But yeah, it was a movie fraught with a lot of difficulties, and it took a lot of star power to get it made because they passed on this movie in '76, they passed on it in '81, they passed on it.
Yeah, because
Right.
you get a little bit in the book, but because the book stops at the release of Platoon, like we don't have like the inside knowledge for like this movie from Oliver Stone yet. And I didn't have this on DVD, so I don't know if there's a commentary with it or not.
There is.
Okay. All right.
A lot of it's him and Ron Kovac talking about the Vietnam War and politics.
Huh. Okay.
Not a lot of insight into the movie making aspect. So yeah, Born on the 4th of July. Check it out. Good movie.
Prepare to be sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just watch it. Dim the lights.
If you have Stars, it's there streaming on Stars.
Yeah, that's how I watched it. I just subscribed to Stars for a free week or whatever and watched it on Hulu. Otherwise, the rest of Stars content's complete garbage. But
I mean, they have some good stuff here and there. I don't know about their original content. I've never watched anything they've done or watched.
I thought American Gods was an original content.
Oh yeah, I've only watched the first season because they fired the director and producer from that, so I never bothered to watch the second season. I love the first season of that though.
Oh, okay. Because I was at least gonna check out.
Leonardo da Vinci was pretty interesting too.
What's that?
Oh,
The Stars had a fictionalized show about Leonardo da Vinci
Huh.
that was like really over the. It was remember the HBO show Rome?
Yeah.
Okay, it was kind of that. I think it was the same production team, but that kind of dark story. Like the Pope is like openly a pedophile, and people are dying of the plague. And Leonardo da Vinci is kind of like Doctor Who, where he have answers for things, but he's sort of restricted. It's like, well, you don't want to be burned at the stake by the church, so don't say that because he seems to know what to do. But yeah, I remember that. I only saw one season of that. I don't know where it went.
And I like that Ash versus the Evil Dead. And I hear good things about the Spartacus series, but like in a tongue-in-cheek way. It's like it's very enjoyable schlock. I've never actually watched it though, but I hear good things
A
about it.
Pirates of the Caribbean type show.
Yeah, it's
too?
Black Flag. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's Black
but-
Flag.
I know the one with Leonardo da Vinci was like shockingly like violent, cruel, and mean. But then there's Leonardo da Vinci's kind of a plucky character. Like, yeah, let's get this done. But like I said, he seemed almost like a Doctor Who type person who was hemmed in by the evil of those around him. It's very highly fictionalized too, but it was interesting. Like, I've never seen a TV series where Leonardo da Vinci's the main character.
And I know they're making a wrestling show right now called Heels that has the dude from Arrow is the main in that. Although he apparently injured himself on set the other day, so I'm not sure if they're completed the season yet.
Oh, just like Henry Cavill did in the Witcher set.
Maybe, or maybe it's more like what happened to Ruby, whatever, on the Batwoman show, and then she just left the show because she got like a really bad back injury from that show and just said fuck this, because the schedule for those CW shows are like terrible. But I mean, it's good money if you don't mind working 22 hours a day, 7 days a week for 9 months.
Because like I saw that they're coming out with the second season of Batwoman like already or soon.
Yeah, they changed the Batwoman.
Yeah, and I was kind of disappointed because the woman that plays Rose on Brooklyn Nine-Nine said she wanted the role and wanted to do it. And I was kind of hoping, since she's actually an LGBT person, they would give it to her since she's a better actress than Ruby Rose's dumbass. Yeah. But I also know the show's writing would be shit anyway, so that's not I go to make it better. But at the same time, I was kind of hoping for that. Then they just somebody that was already in the show, they just tapped as it looks even stupider than it was before.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't even okay. So I guess it's more natural. I thought they just got a new character. I mean, I didn't just replace the actor. It's a new character entirely. It's a
it's an even tinier woman beating up even bigger people now. And it's like yes, technically technology can fill a lot of those gaps.
But,
so I don't know if
but is she gay at all?
What?
Is she gay at all?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't look into the actress and who she is or what she's.
Well, I mean, that's kind of I don't know. That's kind of the main thing about Batwoman is that she got kicked out of the army for being a lesbian, and that's kind of like the main character arc of the Batwoman is that it's a gay character in a prominent role. But
no,
I didn't know if they forced that into the next character is well, the features of Batwoman is they have to be gay.
Well, I mean, maybe, but I mean, I think it's just more of the political agenda thing having to happen where it's they have to be gay, otherwise they can't be Batwoman. It's people have been acting being gay for quite some time now. I don't think it's, impossible for a straight person to act like they're gay or a gay person.
Well, I just meant the character in general. I didn't know what the character's orientation, because I haven't been watching. All I know is the news things about her. On the show.
Well, I mean, from the comics I've read from the New 52 and shit, yeah, she's gay. But her sister disappeared when she was a kid, then reappears in the first couple issues, and she's a villain, so kind of like the show. But she's dating a detective in the Gotham PD, and that's a relationship for a while. And she exists, but on the fringe.
Oh, yeah. That character's in Birds of Prey, right? That's that character.
I think so. Yeah,
that's Rosie Perez's character.
Okay, because I was trying to remember the name when I was talking about it, and crap, I don't remember.
Well, I believe she originates from the Batman animated series.
Oh, okay.
But anyways,
just like Harley Quinn does.
Yeah.
Even though that's pretty much the most popular character DC can bank on right now, which is pretty sad. I mean, not that Margot Robbie does a bad job with it or anything, but if the new Suicide Squad movie doesn't do well, I don't know what the hell the DC universe is going to do. Because they can't seem to put out a good movie anymore.
Well, I mean, like I said, that Wonder Woman movie is fine compared to the others. I actually saw Aquaman.
Yeah.
Yep, I've seen that too. Yep.
Which is way better than it has any right to be. Because that just spends the whole time on the line of embarrassing and cool, just on the line the whole fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because I'm surprised Amber Heard still kept her fucking job for the second one. So I don't know when that's actually getting made, if they're shooting it right now or not. But
I don't know. I think they're working on it. But
I mean, that's pretty much the next DC property I actually care about the sequel. So.
Well, the Suicide Squad looks interesting. So.
Well, no, I'm just saying Suicide Squad I care about, but also Aquaman, pretty much. Unless. I mean, I'm kind of interested to see what Marvel Universe is going to do with their new shows and stuff like Moon Knight, because I really like the comic book iterations of those. So I'm really going to be shitty if Disney goes the family-friendly route and doesn't do an adult version of anything at all, like they always do. So that's why I just don't trust Disney to do anything.
Well, I don't know. At least they're bringing the guy who plays Daredevil from the show to the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, so they must have avoided that contract where he couldn't be a character for 5 years. So I wonder if they're going to do that for Joe Bernthal and stuff like that for Punisher, because that would be really awesome to see.
Yeah, we'll see. But also they're supposed to put Tobey Maguire and Alfred Molina in that movie too. I think they're going to do some Spider-Verse thing with the next Spider-Man movie.
Oh, okay.
Well, and Andrew Garfield is so they're totally doing some Spider-Verse thing.
Oh, well. It'd be cool if they don't fuck that up, because the animated one did it really well. So they do a shitty live action version. That's not going to help anything.
Yeah, Aquaman. Yeah, it's there's a lot of neat stuff in it, a lot of embarrassing stuff, and somehow it works to just be even throughout. It's again way too long. It's like a 2.5 hour movie.
Hey, that's good though. At least they're not sticking to just an hour and a half for everything anymore. So I mean, it shows they would have put time into stuff. I guess.
I don't know. There's like a 3-hour cut of that Batman versus Superman movie, and that fucking movie is awful.
My wife likes the director's cut of that movie. I don't think it's too bad. She's watching Birds of Prey right now on HBO Max, supposedly. So, see how she feels about that pile of shit. Once
I like that movie. I mean, there's problems with it, but I really liked it.
Yeah,
I like
it too.
I like certain parts of it, like the end fight's stupid, and the villains. I like the villain in it, and I like the what Harley Quinn does in the beginning of the movie. But other than that, like that movie is has a lot of flaws.
Yeah, well,
Like,
it's a movie with too many new characters, and you spend the whole time introducing them, which was the exact same problem with the first Suicide Squad movie.
Same writers.
No.
I thought you were gonna say the movie Cats. I'm a jellicle cat. What does that mean?
Yeah, and I remember I said I think it was last week or the night, I hope the Wonder Woman movie captures the excitement of the trailer, but I realized when I asked that, it's that was the problem that happened to Suicide Squad, is that they liked that trailer so much they gave the team that edited the trailer the first half hour of the Suicide Squad movie, and they just turned it into a fucking aimless music video.
Yeah, not what I wanted to see either.
Well, I was this is cool, but it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And then it just then the movie just suddenly happens. Wait, what the fuck is going on? I know technically what's going on. Also, that showed me what a nothing Scott Eastwood is, because he's the sixth name in that movie, and I was when was he in this fucking movie? And he's apparently just one of the Navy SEAL guys that dies by a bomb. I didn't know he's in the fucking movie, and he's supposed to be the next big thing in Hollywood. And then I saw him be also not he's essentially the replacement in the Fast and Furious series for Paul Walker, and he's nothing in that series too. It's Scott Eastwood sucks.
I thought he had one big role in something. I swear I saw him in what was that Nazi goddamn or the
You're talking about Overlord?
Overlord, the Cloverfield Nazi movie.
Was he in that? I know Wyatt.
I thought he was.
I know Kurt Russell's son's in that. Wyatt Russell's in
Oh,
it.
okay, man, I'm mixing it up with that.
I like Wyatt Russell. He does cool stuff, but
He does.
I don't
The
like
Lodge.
Scott Eastwood.
Yeah.
Well, there's some cowboy singer movie that Scott Eastwood in that people really like. There's some war movie he's on, Iraqi war movie on Netflix right now that.
Oh, The Outpost.
Yeah, I think people like that, but the big things I've seen him in where he's an ensemble cast, he just disappears. There's nothing captivating about him if he's with a group of people. He might be captivating on his own. I don't know, but.
Hey, Conlon, didn't Scott Eastwood play the stool Clint Eastwood talked to you at that one convention? You didn't notice it because he did really subtle work. It's very wooden presence. Anyway, bada boom.
So I don't know if anybody can tell me of a Scott Eastwood performance that's good or they liked him in, but I can't.
It's weird that he was credited as Little Nobody in The Fate of the Furious. It actually was.
Little nobody. Wow. Okay.
Oh yeah, and another fun fact from I looked up because I paused it when Tom Cruise was buying his hooker in Mexico, the first one or the second one, because she was 60 pesos. So I looked up how much 60 pesos was in American dollars, because Lisa was oh yeah, he gets $1,700 a month from the VA or whatever to live off of, and I was oh, he could live like a king in Mexico, right? So I looked up how much 60 pesos would be now, and 60 pesos now is 825,000 some pesos, because the inflation rate is 849,000%. So basically, he bought the Mexican hooker for $2 back in 1968 or 69, whenever he was in Mexico, and now that figure is $24,000. It's fucking insane, how much inflation's fucking accounted for it. Anyway, sorry.
All those countries down there have big problems with hyperinflation. All those Central and South American countries that, what was it, Brazil? I remember they were talking about, like, they didn't want to take IMF loans. And there was this whole, like, I think it was This American Life or something, did a thing about how you got paid 3 times a day and you had to send your wife to the store because the price of onions or bread, it could triple in one day. Get in there before the prices were adjusted. But essentially, Brazil paid off their national debt. And so they got out of that. But yeah, there was some really weird, because they took all that money out to build Brasilia. And nobody lived there but like homeless people, and the people that built the buildings is like, yeah, this is a nice place to live. We live here now. And so they were in huge debt, and I mean, not nearly the debt we're in, but they also had an unstable currency. But yeah, that was yeah, the inflation in those countries is crazy.
Other movies you might not have known Scott Eastwood was in: Fury and Snowden. Because I didn't know he was in.
I haven't seen Snowden yet.
Oh,
I
yeah,
haven't seen that either.
Also,
there's no way he was in that tank in Fury, right? There's no way.
No.
Okay.
He said he was Sergeant Miles, so I don't know who the hell Sergeant Miles is.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like,
but yeah, he's also in.
If he was in that fucking movie, I miss him for that entire movie. It's like, goddamn, Scott Eastwood, you're good at just fading into the background.
He's good at blending in.
Best
Yeah, he was
actor
the
in
orangutan in
Hollywood.
Every Which Way But Loose.
You are fucking lucky your dad is Clint Eastwood.
He's also
he's
like
like,
every. He's also in every Clint Eastwood movie, basically, for the most part. I mean, he's in Gran Torino. He's in Trouble with the Curve. He's in freaking Invictus. So yeah, he's in like every fucking Clint Eastwood movie for a while. He's even in the Texas Chainsaw remake in 2013, apparently. Like, he's in a lot of shit. I don't remember him in any movie, but he's in a lot of shit. He's even in the Pacific Rim sequel.
I haven't seen that, so.
Which is called Rim Job.
Just lick the rim. Don't penetrate. Just lick it.
He knows how that goes.
So yeah, he's in a lot of shit.
Punch that fart box.
He's even in a Fast and Furious ripoff B movie called Overdrive. So I mean,
I don't remember that at all.
I mean, it's just on his thing after. It's that literally the next movie after the Fate of the Furious, and then it's Overdrive, and so it's just like a fast car fucking like
Has it
gun
been
movie.
released?
It's 2017. It got released. Because the only thing on his stuff that hasn't come out yet is Dangerous and Wrath of Man. That's the only thing that hasn't come out yet for either of
It's the new Guy Ritchie movie.
Huh. Okay.
Oh. Maybe he'll fade into the background of that movie.
He'll be opposite Jason Statham.
Scott Eastwood, the best set designer in freaking Hollywood. He's
Yeah, he actually did craft services and Born on the 4th of July. Tom Cruise said, "You better make sure my water's room temperature, bitch." He's like, "You know who my dad is? Clint Eastwood."
Well, he's been producer for 4
that
horrible
man
B
will
movies.
never direct me in a movie.
That's probably the only reason Scott Eastwood gets work is because they're like, oh, if we give him work, maybe his dad will do something with it. That's what it is. Most likely.
But under miscellaneous, it does say craft service producer for the 4th of July. No, just kidding. It says he's a production assistant on some movie, but he's like been producer on 4 different movies, which is insane because it's like well, I guess I don't know if he does know how to produce, but that's fucking weird.
Well, like I said, like in that Suicide
It's a
Squad
whole
movie, he's
name
like
thing.
he's like the 4th build on that movie, and I didn't even know he's fucking in it.
I wish it told you how much he got.
He got the check, and he was like, "What?"
I wish it told you how much he got paid for these roles.
There's probably somewhere you can find it out. I hate the Box Office Mojo got like picked up by Amazon, and now that shit's all behind a paywall.
Oh.
Interesting. Somebody released some figures. I don't know if they're true or not for F1. What every F1 driver is getting paid.
Yeah.
And apparently Antonio Giovinazzi is the least paid driver. He makes like $500,000 a year. And I was like, huh. You know, I don't think Antonio Giovinazzi is the greatest driver, but for that money, he's not so bad.
So guess what Scott Eastwood gets paid a year net worth?
$25 million.
No, his net worth is only $1 million. He only gets paid $121,000 a year on average.
Huh. Okay.
That's
figured
according.
it'd be-
Yeah, that's according to a singles and married website, which is weird. I don't know why the hell that's on. Well, the hell that's on there, but that's the first thing that pops up in this year, December 1st.
I
So I don't know why.
Huh. I figured he'd
I
be
don't-
making at least $1 million for like any movie he stars in or something, but huh.
Yeah, I mean,
He was also in You Got Served, so that's exciting. And something called Shannon's Rainbow. I don't know what that is.
no, sorry, I'm just sucked into the deep dive of figuring out what Scott Eastwood does for a living. Does he just live off his father's good name and money, or does he actually do something for it?
I don't know how much he live off his dad because I think he has like 10 kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
he has
guess
a lot of kids, yeah.
because after Matt was talking about how many threesomes like Clint Eastwood's character has in The Mule, I didn't want to watch that movie anymore.
It's an interesting movie.
I'm sure it is, and I wanted to see it, but as soon as you talk about how many weird sex scenes were in it, I'm like, nah, I don't care anymore. Old man smuggles drugs. Good. Okay, that's all I need to know.
All right. Well, that's all I got for this week.
All right.
So this week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
Andrew?
I'm out.
Goodbye, America.